already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live.
Right now.
Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul Sporting with the talk. First lady from New York,
Brooklyn.
All my people, you rocking with the chat.
Hit that.
The like button would tell me where you at. You know, Step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to the channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk, Dope Soul Knicks Talk, a member of the MBK family. This is the weekly show. I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen. And as always, we got a lot to talk about. Is Jalen Brunson the best point guard in the NBA right now? We're going to talk about that. Mitchell Robinson is practicing. I don't know how hard they're practicing at this point in the season, but he is practicing. Oh, man. I'm looking forward to that, but we'll talk about whether or not he should start, when he comes back. We'll talk about Randle. Maybe he should just call it a season. And we'll talk about OG Anunoby. I've been hearing some things in an article I read. Is he tough enough? Is he somebody who is willing to play through pain? So we'll talk about that and a few other things. Let me bring in the panel. We got Jerrell, Geoff, Jay Boogie. How you guys doing? And we might even open the phone lines tonight. We'll see. How's everybody?
Salute to everybody, man. Salute to the chat.
Great. Beautiful Friday. Hope everybody had a great week because it's going to be a beautiful weekend.
No doubt about it. Let's start with the Knicks. I want to check. I just want to make sure nothing has changed. I know last night after we lost to Denver, I was like, look at this. We won 3 out of the last 4 and we in 5th place.
Right.
Let me see if it has not changed. The Knicks are in 5th place right now after going 3 out of our last 4. Just a half a game behind Orlando and only 2 games behind the number 3 team, which is Cleveland. Man, if we was healthy right now, we might be banging on the door of the number 2 seed. All right. Anyway, let's just start with who and what stood out for you this week before we get into some of the meatier questions. Jerrell, we'll start with you. Who and or what has stood out for you since we last had the show?
I guess the word for me is resilience. 3 to be 3-1 on that road trip is very, very impressive. Yeah. With the roster that we have and how shorthanded that we are. And I think we need to start giving up for Tom Thibodeau a little bit more than we do.
Don't let AJ. He had a black tie affair. Don't let him bust on the bust right on the piano.
Pulling that tie off, and
he can't believe it right now. My bad, AJ. But yeah, Tom has been killing it, man. Like the way that he got our players playing. I mean, it's March Madness going on. We had a conversation off air about college teams and March Madness. We playing like it's really March Madness, like it's really win or go home time almost every game. We were shorthanded and came up short against Denver, but that was the last game of a road trip, and they're pretty much been playing the best basketball since the All-Star break in the NBA. So I'm not really shocked that we lost last night, but everybody else we pretty much running through, like except for maybe the Kings game, because they came out with the scrappy defense today. I don't really see them play that often, so you could tell that they really got up for us. But yeah, we ended up pulling that out, and all of this is without Julius Randle and OG Anunoby. So when our guys come back, and they're we have reports saying they're coming back soon. We don't know about OG yet, but yeah, resilience. Like I think we're one of the best teams in the NBA. I can't wait till we get healthy.
And that's saying something, because Jerrell, He a hard cookie. Me too. As far as talking about this team is good, it took us a minute before we crossed over that line. But to your point about Tom Thibodeau, we'll talk about this later. Him starting McBride, and so just hopefully giving us an inkling of his willingness to deploy this roster, in different ways depending on the opponent, and hopefully that continues into the playoffs. But we'll talk about that more later. Geoff, who and what has stood out for you since last week?
Well, I think you said it right off the bat there, Deuce McBride.
Yeah.
I mean, just a massive game. I mean, what a spectacular performance. I mean, and really his shooting has been like, I mean, we always talk about who can make a leap. Well, he's made quite a leap in that department. Let me just tell you. I mean, what a leap looks like. You just look at what who he is and what he's done. And is he a playmaker? Traditional point guard? No, but is he doing some things that really make a difference in winning basketball? Yeah, he really is. And with his shooting and his defense, I mean, and then against Golden State, you come up and you have a career performance exactly when the team needs you. I've always been one who said that he's going to have a tough time when the roster is fully healthy staying in the lineup. I may have to revise that take because he's played so well. I don't know he's going to get a ton of minutes, but I don't know that you could pull him out of the rotation entirely. I think he's been too good. And then I also want to echo what Jerrell says. I always can always gauge how good a Knick team is by how they play on the West Coast. Anytime we have a successful West Coast trip, we've got a really good team. When we struggle on the West Coast, we're not that good because it takes something a little extra to win on the road. And so I think that to go 3-1, I don't know anybody who would have argued with that when we left on the road. I mean, I think everybody to a T was like, yeah, this Denver game is just gravy. If we get it, we're good. We're amazing. If we don't, we're good. And even though we slipped to 5th place, opportunity knocks here over these next 4 games. We're going to have a chance to hopefully, knock on wood, knock on whatever you got, but put a win streak together. And look, the margins are small for all of these teams. And we just went through a patch of tough games. Right. And we won 75% of them. That's credit to everybody, but most of all, credit to Jalen Brunson. This guy is, I know we're going to talk about this more, so I don't want to dwell on it right now, but you just talk about a superstar. And when he is in the game, when he suits up for the Knicks and he's starting and he's healthy, we can beat anybody. Yeah. We can beat anybody. That's crazy.
Mm.
Yeah. Salute to Mark Odom for buying me a cup of coffee. I just got that. I'm in Miami for that Miami game, April 2nd. So I'll be eating well. I appreciate you. Boogie, who and what stood out for you this week?
I'm gonna save it for later on, but I'm just gonna, just say the team. I'm just going to include the team, everything that they're doing together and believing in one another and having one another's back and being there for one another, fighting together. This is just, it's been a long time since, I've been able to really, really say we have a basketball team, and everybody is playing their role and playing their parts, and they're happy with their role and they're happy with their parts. Each and every game, it's every game is somebody else is stepping up doing this, somebody else is doing that. It's just it just feels good to just know we got a New York Knicks team that's really, really good, and they are. We have a bright future ahead of us, and I know we're in the present right now, but the present that we're in right now it allows our future to be so bright, up under this, Leon Rose, era right here, right now. There's just so many guys, I can always just point out the main thing, but I'm striving to make sure that I'm letting it be known this everybody out here, the times when people was doubting guys and unsure of guys and was wondering if guys and didn't know if they could and all that, they're proving a lot of wrongs, by just being themselves and working hard and playing together. And that's a lot of love towards Tom. Everybody is playing to the game that he wants to have and how he wants to play his style. Everybody is okay with it, and it's just going to get better and better, as time go on. So for right now, it's the team for me that's doing what they got to do right now, because a big part of the other guys, the other part of the team is not here, and with them not here, there's been times when we just throw our hands up. What are we going to do? What do you mean, what are we going to do? Huh? We're going to war. We're going to fight every game, every night, minute by minute, commercial break after commercial break, quarter by quarter, half by half, 48 minutes. And then we'll live with the results. And they went over there, and like you just said, they went over there and brought back 75% of them wins. That's big.
Yeah. No doubt about it. So much has stood out for me this week. I'll start with McBride. You all right? Oh, okay. I thought he was saying staying ready, biding his time, putting in that work, getting better, getting better over time. People may say that, Grimes may have a higher ceiling, than McBride. And that's arguable, but, some people would say that. But McBride has that mentality. Even when he was a rookie, they would ask him something about his confidence, and he would say, I'm very confident in myself. He wasn't getting any minutes. I'm very confident in myself. And then there was times when he would say Tibbs would talk to him or Derrick Rose would talk to him to try to get his spirits up. But I never got the sense from McBride that he lacked in confidence. And you can be as talented as you want to be. There's a certain amount of mental toughness that you have to kind of actualize that toughness. And to me, that was the difference and has been the difference, at least up to this point, between McBride and Grimes, and so, it's good to see, where he is. And there was a time, I got to be honest, there was a time I didn't say it on the show, but I didn't think McBride was an NBA player. Everybody was talking about his defense. And I'm saying, look, you got to be able to make shots in this league, or you got to be able to run a team. You can't just be a player at his size just playing defense, and you can't shoot, you can't run a team. Like, what's the longevity for a player like that in this league? And that shot started to fall. He's getting better and better. He may not be an ideal point guard, but he is getting better at driving and kicking and finding the players around the 3-point line. His mid-range, which he always had if you watched him play at West Virginia, that's falling for him. He's an NBA player. And one thing about me, if you're playing bad, you're playing bad. I'm going to let you know. But I'm not going to hold on to a narrative when a player is playing better. This is where he is right now, and he's doing some really, really good things for us. Also, what stood out for me is Tom Thibodeau, putting him in that starting lineup in Golden State. Thibodeau has a team with players that he believes in, that he trusts. And hopefully that goes a long way in him deploying this roster based on who we're playing, whether that's from game to game, whether that's from quarter to quarter, whether that's from series to series when we get into the playoffs. I really would like to see him mix and match. Maybe sometimes we need Bogdanovich out there for shooting. Maybe sometimes we need Precious out there. I wish we can combine those two players. But maybe sometimes we need Precious, for defensive purposes. But I like, what he's doing as of late with the roster. Burke seemed to be coming along. That's something that stood out for me too. Not necessarily the points he's scoring, but he's just looking a little better. Like he's just not out there like a jackrabbit. He looks like he knows what he's doing. And I still believe going into the playoffs off that bench, we're going to need Burks and Bogdanovich in that second unit as far as scoring is concerned. I don't see Hart as a scorer. I don't see Mitch as a scorer, and we'll talk about this. Mitch might start. We'll see. We don't know. And McBride, as well as he's playing with young players, is hit or miss in the playoffs. They may be great. They may not. They may be great one game, not great another game. So we're going to need Burks and Bogdanovich to be – these are veterans. They've been in this league. We're going to need them in the playoffs. So it's just good to see Burks coming along. And Hart might be the second best player on the team right now, behind Brunson for what he's been doing with Randle out and OG out. So that stood out for me. I mean, basically, like Boogie said, we could just go down the line and say the team. Hart, he seems to be getting back into his flow. He's playing a bit, a little more minutes, than he was playing probably a week or so ago. And he's looking more like himself, so yeah. I mean, and I probably missed some people, I probably missed some players. But I just like what I'm seeing. And, we're in 5th place right now because Orlando has won their last 5 games. That's how tight it is, in the NBA. We were 3-1, they 5-0, so, hopefully we got Brooklyn, we got Detroit. I'm not sure who the 2 teams we have after that, but there's an opportunity for the Knicks if they're on their game. If they're on their game, no mental lapses, we might still have an opportunity at that 3 spot. We shall see. Anything else about what any of us have said or anything else about this week you want to comment on?
Real quick about Deuce. I actually think Deuce is the reason Grimes isn't here.
That's fair take.
I think Tom Thibodeau saw in Deuce what he wanted to see in Grimes, especially with the confidence in him shooting. And when it comes to defense, they pretty much are comparable, except for Quentin Grimes is a little more versatile because he's bigger and can play like the threes. But yeah, I think ultimately Grimes kind of became expendable because of that.
And to piggyback off what you're saying, Jerrell, I think Grimes speaking out those 2 times that he did was a strike against him. And I think it was just, Tom seeing McBride as a soldier. This is a guy who's not getting any time. He not complaining. You know what I mean? And here's Grimes, who, in my opinion, was given the starting spot because of his defensive prowess. To me, it wasn't even like he earned it, at least in the beginning. Even when Cam was here, Cam was playing, pretty well too, kind of pitching in across the board. Here come Grimes off of an injury, boom, in the starting lineup.
Right.
So here you are being gifted, and some people may disagree with that, a spot. And you complaining about being in the corner, you complaining about not getting the ball. You could listen, that's not your role. Your role is to play the best perimeter player on the opposing team and keep it shut. Yep. That's your role. So I do think that has something to do with it. I do. And I think people can have different opinions on this. I think you have a right to be frustrated. I'm not saying you can't be frustrated. I don't know. To me, I just felt like he could have kept those comments to himself and just worked through it, But yeah.
so many guys right now, throughout the league, you just hear all the different phrases, like, balling, doing this thing, crushing, killing. The terminologies that we use, when we see him putting in work. He on one. It's not many times where we use the term where we say, dude is doing his job. And I say that because, when Tom put him in that starting lineup in Golden State, he gave him a mission. Your job is to go and get him. Your job is to go and pick him up. Your job is for you to make it hard and hell, nothing easy for Steph Curry.
Right.
And that's what he did. He went out there and did his job, what he was asked to do, along with, we already know it. That's part of him being paid. That is his job. Full court pressure, relentless, nonstop defensive pressure. And you can best believe, because of Deuce is probably the reason why them full court pressures don't bother Brunson when guys be picking him up for. Because in practice, you best believe that's what Deuce is doing. And in practice, you best believe Brunson probably was telling him, yo, get at me. Do you? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, again, shout out to Deuce, doing his thing, being a Knick, believing in himself, and staying ready at all times. And I've been asking the question. I've been really asking the question over like the last week, the different places. And my question has been like, how far is Deuce in his second year compared to IQ? And he had 4 years. It's not far off. You really pay attention to it. But that's not here there, but shout out to Deuce.
We can answer that question. I personally think IQ has more upside than Deuce. As an NBA player, I don't see, if I had to put money on it, I wouldn't put money on Deuce being a starting point guard in the NBA. And I could be wrong. But I do see IQ being a starting point guard in the NBA. Now, things change quickly in the NBA. You know what I mean? No pun intended. And 2 years from now, Deuce might be a starter. But I still feel Quickly's ceiling is a bit higher than Deuce. But I'm interested in what Jerrell, Geoff, and the chat has to say about that.
I actually agree with you. I like IQ over Deuce when it comes to that, but like you said, it can definitely be switched the other way around. Like, both of them are still young enough for us to be wrong on both sides.
Right.
So, I would pick IQ, but yeah, if somebody picked Deuce, I mean, it's an argument. Like, you could be you could definitely be right.
Right.
Coach
feels
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, Coach believes that Deuce can start on a team like Charlotte. On the ball, Coach, or off the ball? Because we're talking. Are you talking about being a point guard?
I would guess it would have to be off ball because LaMelo Ball is their point guard, so he ain't going nowhere.
Right.
But yeah, that would actually make sense with him and LaMelo in the same backcourt.
Off ball, he's saying. Okay,
Right.
Geoff?
So this is what I'll say about it, because I actually think Quickly is a much better player, but I'll say this. I'll frame it this way. I would much rather have Deuce McBride at $4 million than Emmanuel Quickly at 18 plus.
Yeah, of course.
Oh.
You know what I mean? In other words, especially in the situation that we're in, where we're getting to that point where we're approaching tax aprons and being an over the cap team and all of these other things. The difference between the two players and their salaries is not commensurate. In other words, Quickly in my mind is probably a B+ player, and maybe Deuce is a B-, but the $14 million or more salary gap that you're going to have makes Deuce a much more functional fit for what we're doing here, because we need that money elsewhere. And he just fits in really, really well. He doesn't complain. He takes on his role. You say, Deuce, we need you for 47 minutes tonight. He's like, I got it. We need you for 2 minutes tonight. Okay. And he just, and to Jay Boogie's point, his job against Golden State was to make Curry's life miserable. Well, he didn't just do his job. He went out and poured it on him and went on a bender and outplayed Curry. I mean, if we're going to be honest, it's not that he's going to do that. I mean, Curry's a Hall of Famer. That's, I don't, just for that game.
Right.
But I mean, I think that's another point of difference between Grimes and Deuce. Grimes was afforded opportunities, and he didn't take full advantage of it. It seems like when Deuce steps on the court, he feels like he may never get to step on the court again. So he's going to give it his absolute best, whatever that may be. And sometimes that looks amazing, and sometimes it's like it's not. But, the good has far outweighed the bad for sure. And I think just that aspect in and of itself makes him really valuable, because he doesn't shy away from the spotlight. He's a role player, right? He understands that, and he's like, I'm going to fill my role. I'm going to do the best I can with whatever minutes you give me, and I'm going to try and shine in those minutes, and I'm going to try and play so well that you can't take me off the court. And he kind of has. I mean, if you think about it, from this is a guy who was completely situational when this season started, and through trades and injuries, he's worked himself into. I don't think anybody would be upset with him having a solid rotation spot come playoff time. At least I wouldn't be at any rate.
But in all fairness, though, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more quick thing. What I really, really noticed, on his defense, right, is like when he played against Steph, and when he played against Steph, and when he played against Murray, some guys on defense will slip and make the mistake of sometimes on a shooter, they accidentally forget what they're doing and going under the screen, and is a shooter that can shoot from another planet. I never seen him go under no screens. And then a lot of guys, they know they're getting screened and getting picked for these guys, whereas they get tentative of the screen that's coming because they know a solid screen is coming, and they choose to duck the screens themselves to go under instead of taking, the screen. Deuce don't duck no screen, by any means. He's fighting over the top of them screens on them shooters, and a lot of guards don't do that, and that's to the strength part of his game. And sometimes those are some things you can't just teach. You know what I'm saying? You either got it, you got it because you got to go up the screen if it's a shooter. If he's not a shooter, to go under the screen. Those are the differences. But to be able to know that you have to go up the screen and fight them screens and get to them, and deliver the blow. Like Dennis Johnson used to say, I'm going to make sure I set you a blow so hard that you're not even going to want to even set a screen on me no more. And he's running through them screens, man. I just wanted to point that little, thing out about what Deuce is doing on that defense. He's not ducking no rack at all.
I do want to say, in all fairness to Grimes, I'm not sure they're doing anything differently. Between Grimes and McBride. If you take out the complaining and you're just talking about what they do on the court, Grimes was a dog defensively as well. He would have his shot wasn't as consistent as I would have liked it to be in his third year. But then again, third year, but just 2 years of game experience because of
Mhm.
all of, the injuries. So
Yeah.
if you take out the stuff he was talking about on the side, I think both of them have been really good defensively and inconsistent offensively.
Yeah.
But what I like in McBride is I just think he's a little tougher than Grimes, and I could be wrong. He just comes across as a bit tougher and confident than Grimes. But in terms of if you just looking at the numbers and just looking at their play, I think at this point in both of their careers, good defensively, inconsistent offensively. You wanted to say something, Jerrell?
No, I was going to say, you said you could be wrong. I was like, you're not. Like you're correct in what you were saying about his toughness.
Now, Keith Turner disagrees. Appreciate you, Keith. Grimes was getting cooked a lot. He wasn't that great defensively. I thought he was pretty good defensively. Listen, if you're taking on the best defensive, offensive players on an opposing team, you're going to get cooked at times. We was putting Grimes on Tatum, like unfair. If we would have kept Grimes on point guards and shooting guards, we would have been talking about how elite his defense is. But you putting him on Kawhi Leonard, Tatum, Siakam. There was times he was guarding Siakam. I was like, come on.
I see he was guarding Big Joel too.
Right.
A couple times.
Come on now. We talking about he getting cooked. Yeah.
Yep.
You giving up 6 inches. You know what I mean? Yep. Shout out to Grimes, though. I still think he's going to be a good NBA player. I just think we just needed somebody a little more consistent shooting. Because remember, McBride is in his rightful role, coming off the bench, giving us what he can give. Grimes was starting. And I feel like if Grimes was in McBride's role right now, I don't think we would have a lot of complaints. It's just that he was in a role where we was like, yo, we counting on you. Look at all these open shots Brunson and Randle are creating for you, and you can't hit them down consistently. Like we was giving him the business, and he didn't play 100 games in the NBA, but he was starting. So
even Chenzo came and took his spot. I still felt like that was Grimes' opportunity to show his value in the second unit, and I don't think he was as good as he could have been. Let's just put it that way. Like I agree with most of what you're saying, but that's what I mean by opportunity. I think he went to the second unit and he didn't take advantage of the minutes that he had against second. He played the same. He looked the same as he did in the first unit, except he was playing against second unit guys, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm just being hard on him.
Though, but he was inconsistent, Jeff. I agree, but McBride is inconsistent too. I mean, like, and trust me, I'm not trying to defend, Grimes too much, because I was the one calling for him to be out of out of the first unit. But I'm just trying to throw him a little bail in the sense that he's a second-year player. I just feel like we had him in a role he should not have been in from the start. He's a third-year player, but 2 years of game experience because of the injury. I just feel like he was in a role he shouldn't have been in. And you're right. He was inconsistent in that, in that second unit. It takes guys, I don't know, 3-4 years to be. How long did it take quickly to become consistent?
He's still not.
Yeah, you see his shooting percentage over. Yeah, you see his shooting percentage over at Toronto now that he's playing, I don't know, unlimited minutes. Yeah,
they might have been the same stuff, but the difference is that Grimes was inconsistent in way more minutes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So you saw him be inconsistent more than Deuce.
Yeah.
So if both of their defenses is top notch, if you see one guy being sporadic with the shooting way more than the other one because he plays like twice as many minutes, then get the guy who plays the most minutes out of here.
Yeah. I wish we would have kept Grimes in his role.
Right.
Like if McBride is our 9th player, I wish we would have kept Grimes as the 10th. Like just have both at the back end of the rotation where it's not a lot of expectations. What you give us is great. Whatever you give us, we'll take and appreciate. But if you don't, we understand it's growing pains. But you got to give to get, and so we had to give him up. I still think he'll be a solid NBA player. Building blocks think it's mental. There's still time for Grimes to shine, but most of his issues is mental.
I just trying to figure out what am I supposed to do with it.
I didn't even notice you put the
Put a sock on.
Huh?
Is that
That's not a sock. That's Julius's his sleeve.
Okay.
He gave it to me in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I took it home and I cleaned it. And then when I was at the game in Charlotte, he signed it for me. So I'm just trying to do something, but I don't know what to do with this Grimes jersey, man. Because I got the jersey because I was thinking the whole time they was going to do away with the 6, so that's why I got it. I wouldn't, because all my jerseys got my name on the back, except unless if you're retired or something.
Bug, I got you, Bug. Turn it around.
Turn it
to the front. Yeah, that's
turn it to the front, so it just say Knicks 6.
Hey, you like that? That's why you Uncle Brown. That's why you Uncle Brown.
Turn it around, man. Don't nobody
get that
Grimes
name taken off the back if you want to. You can get it changed for Boogie if you want to.
And listen, and we got to take that down off the show where we got to delete that for the watch along. So, we don't want to. I'm just playing. Y'all the family down there.
Wow. All right. So let's get into the question of the show. Shout out to Staffer. Staffer always put in things in the chat for us, even though he's not on the show. And feel better, Staffer. I know he said he was a little under the weather. That's why he couldn't make it tonight, but that he's listening. Shout out to him. And also no shout out to Ajay. Ajay had a black tie.
Yeah. I mean, he's chilling. He's somewhere eating quiche and shrimp croquettes or something like that, man.
That bank restaurant.
Okay. No, shout out to Ajay. But Staffer sent me a text that they were gonna talk about Brunson on First Take. And so I was able to catch it. And one of the questions was, who would you take over Brunson right now? And in terms of the sense I got was how they're playing this season, not who's the better point guard overall, but right now, who would you take over Brunson? Kendrick Perkins said nobody. Stephen A. Smith said SGA. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna bring it to the panel. See what the panel have to say. See what the chat has to say. Is there and I'm a chill out. I gave myself a pep talk before I came on air that if somebody said, Van Vliet or whatever, I was gonna keep my calm. I wasn't gonna lose it, so I'm cool. Y'all know how I feel about the burner, but I'm cool right now. No matter what y'all say, I done gave myself a pep talk. All right. So we'll start with we'll go the other way around. We'll do Boogie, Geoff, Jerrell. Jerrell, you want to go first?
No, I was going to say, I'm so glad I'm not going first, just because they can talk me out of saying what I was going to say. Because I hate not picking Brunson, but yeah, I know Jay Bug gonna get me right. See, Jay Bug gonna get me in the zone that I want to be in to pick Brunson. That's why I like him to go first.
Right. And we're talking about right now. We're not talking about, the whole history of Tyree for those who are talking about right now. Is there anybody in the NBA at the point guard position that you would pick over Brunson right now? That's the question, chat. That's the question. All right. Boogie.
I'm not taking nobody. Period.
That's my guy.
All. They can all stay where they at. And I like a lot of them guys' games. I like DSJ game over there, but I like it in OKC, Oklahoma, where it's like, you know, when the game is over, that microphone ain't in media and none of that's going on. I like him over there. You know, this guy right here, you can't take away somebody that want to be somewhere. This guy wanted to be here. And he came here and fought against all the doubters and went through them. And after he fought through the doubters, guess what? He had some more doubters. He fought through the New York fan base doubters. And once he got through this and everybody was like, okay, cool and calm with it, then he fought through the media doubters with no problem, no pressure. Right now, he's just getting his just due. Right now. You see the videos, the commercials, all that going on right now. I got my March jacket on right now. I'm waiting to put on my playoff jacket next. What this guy is doing in the biggest lights, the most hardest, difficult fan base, the most hardest media area, a lot of them guys ain't gonna be able to stand dealing with this. You talking about I really wanted him to go 4-0 on that trip. But I understand. Denver, you know, when you beat somebody 2 years knocking on the door for almost a 2-year sweep, you know what I'm saying? Their backs was all the way against the wall. You seen them going all the way hard. You know, you seen Murray get falling on the floor. Yeah. Count that. I thought it was in the fifth round of a playoff series. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, we here. We arrived. We are here. In the words of Julius Randle, when he got here, we are here. New York, we here. When they act like that playing against us. And I seen some of the great players go in California and play against Steph Curry. I seen some of them same great players play against him in San Francisco. But I ain't seen not one of them guys, not one of them be mentioning MVP in that man's building. Ever. And that man, he respectfully was looking like, I can't even be mad. Because that guy's worked hard to receive everything he's getting right now. And the thing about it, he's not done. He's not finished. Y'all just keep tuning in and you keep watching. And the haters, y'all keep doubting. He's going to keep doing what he's doing. Wait till he get everything around here what he needs. You hear Draymond Green after their game? You hear him. You hear Mike Brown after the game? You hear them. When they talk about you like that, you somebody special. You somebody. He's special. He's special. And he's here. That's our guy. When was the last time outside of Julius came here and then a point guard came here? We've been looking for a point guard for so long. Stop looking. I'm coming. I'm on my way. I'm coming. I ain't staying in Dallas. I'm going where nobody want to be at. And that means a lot. And even Julius said it on his show the other day. Y'all seen it? Y'all wanted the challenge, and I ain't talking about the Dodge Challenger. I wanted to go somewhere where nobody else want to go. And guess what? Then came Brunson. I'm going somewhere where nobody want to go. A trend is being set, and the trend is being broke. I'm not taking none of them guys over this guy at all, period. That's just me. And I'm still got him in top 4 as far as the MVP going on right now. Because what he's meaning to this team, what he's doing. He had a bad game, 26. A Wendell Tyler. A Wendell Tyler. A Le'Veon Bell. In football term numbers, you know what I'm saying? 26 points over there in Denver. They had to win that game. They had to win it. Because you know what would have been the saying would have been, what if the Knicks played the Denver Nuggets in the finals? They might not be able to beat them. I pass on, man. Brunson here to stay. That's our superstar. He here.
I'm gonna skip Geoff. Geoff, if you don't mind.
I'm good. Go.
And I'm gonna put up Sherwin's comment because it has a lot to do with how I feel about Brunson. To me, it's not about talent, right? Like you can argue SGA is a more talented player than Brunson if you want to do that. I'm not saying I agree with that, but you can argue that. You can argue that Halliburton is a more talented, even a better player than Brunson. But for me, it's about what are you doing when the lights are the brightest. I'm not taking a guy who hasn't been in the playoff yet, hasn't performed under those bright lights over Brunson. Now, when SGA get into the playoffs and do his thing and carry his team something, then to me, he's in consideration. You know what I mean? If Halliburton takes Indiana, and he balls out in the playoffs, then maybe I'll consider Halliburton. But I'm not taking anybody that's not tested, that didn't ball out under the bright lights over Brunson. And I'm definitely not taking LaMelo Ball, who has done nothing up to this point to elevate Charlotte. Now, in all fairness to him, maybe, you can argue they didn't have the team, but, they had Rozier, they had Miles, they had, PJ Washington. I'm not saying that's a championship contending team, but you would think that's enough talent for them to get a little further than they have gone. So for me, it's not about talent. Oh, LaMelo Ball, he passes better than Brunson, and Halliburton passes better than Brunson. Yo, it's not about talent. It's about getting it done. It's about moving through the different levels of the playoffs. And I'm not saying Brunson has done that yet in terms of getting us to the Eastern Conference Finals or to the finals. But you saw him against Miami. I want to see SGA do that. I want to see Halliburton do that. I want to see Fox do that. I want to see LaMelo Ball do that. And then for me, they will be in the conversation. Right? I'm not looking at just talent. I'm looking at being clutch, elevating your team. And when the lights are the brightest on that stage, what are you doing for your team? And Halliburton, LaMelo, Fox, they lost in the first round. I'm not saying this, his fault. They lost their young team, first time in the playoffs in a while. They lost to the Golden State Warriors, which was a tested team, Grizzly team once. So I'm not banging on them dudes. But because rosters matter. Rosters matter. All I'm saying is I seen Brunson do work against somebody who's considered one of the best, if not the best coach in the NBA, throwing everything at him. And he calculating, this is what I need to do. Not overnight for the next game. No, for the next play. This is what I need to, like the way he's able to calculate. So I don't want to hear nothing else about any of those guys until I see them in the playoffs balling out. Then to me, maybe I will choose SGA because he is that dude. I ain't taking nothing away from SGA. He's that dude. I'm not taking anything away from Halliburton, Fox. I'm not taking anything. I'm just saying for me, I've seen talented players get smoked in the playoffs, look like a shell of themselves in the playoffs. Regular season, balling out, get to the playoffs like a shell of themselves. So until they ball out in the playoffs, I don't want to hear anything about any of these guys anyway over Brunson. That's just me though. I'm gonna hand it over to Geoff, hand it over to Jerrell. Maybe we'll take some calls. I'll definitely read some of the chat comments as well.
Hey, real quick. Hey, Captain, real quick. I'm gonna be real quick. And
Go.
just the other day they was talking about how Halliburton, his shooting ain't like it was in the beginning of the season. All that running up and down is starting to get playoff time. You know what I'm saying? And like Queen said, you got to be battle tested. This guy here is majorly battle tested. You know what I'm saying? You can think it's a joke or whatever. You can take it for whatever it is or what it ain't. But you know, Dallas ain't been to the playoffs since he left. Let me throw that out there. I don't see what that man did to Donovan Mitchell with some of the ones that still want Donovan Mitchell over. I seen him do what he did to Donovan in the East and in the West. Okay? I seen that man do what he needed to do against, you know what I'm saying, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, all that too. And when he went to that West, he took them to the Western Conference Final. You know what I'm saying? Handling his business. So, you know, those are just some of the names that, you know, that was been mentioned about being on this team. Donovan and Devin Booker, which I would like Devin over Donovan because I already got really a Donovan. He don't show me that. He don't show me that. Twice in the playoffs again, eliminating him. So, hey, y'all got to make sure you're right about, you know, who you want to bring over here because them guys I ain't seen them guys do nothing. And they on deck. We know this guy right here, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's seen what he did and what he has done besides Candace Parker. Besides her. Oh, come on. He do nothing against Miami. Where he was at? Really?
Right.
Didn't watch the series, apparently.
Right.
Just talking.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole other thing, how people just get jobs based on what they did in their career. And that's fine. If you get a job based on what you did in your career, that's fine. Happens all the time. But whatever happens all the get in them
That
books.
should be a homegirl's job.
You know what I mean? Get however you got the job, get in there and show that you know what you're talking about. But anyway, that's an aside.
That should be a homegirl's job.
Yeah,
She should be running a show. Yes, Miss Monica McNutt. That should be her job.
Fit the whole Monica's purse, that's for sure.
Just take pride in what you're doing. I think people some of these, they just so casual. Like, do you watch game? Barkley said, I don't watch none of them. And I love Barkley. I don't watch none of these games when I go home. I was like, oh my God. Anyway. That's my guy, though. I love Barkley. Jeff?
Well, man, that's a hard question because I'm going to tell you, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a fantastic ball player. And he hadn't balled out in the playoffs yet. I think he will. I really do. And I think the season that he is having over in Oklahoma is phenomenal. Like, he is fantastic. So I don't like to take anything away from him because I've been contemplating having him in my top 3 MVP voting himself just for the job that he's done.
Right.
But here's my thing, and I'm a homer, and I admit it. And look, Jalen Brunson is the best Knick point guard in 50 years. In 50 years. And I make the claim that you could put him in any of those other situations, and that team would succeed. And I'm not necessarily sure that the inverse is true. I think he's tougher than Halliburton. I think he's better than Halliburton. I don't think it's particularly close with Halliburton. Fox is a clutch fourth quarter performer. I don't know that he has the toughness that Jalen does. And I don't know. Take any of those teams and remove 3 of their best starters and then tell me what their record's going to be. It ain't going to be what our record is. And our record is that because of what Jalen Brunson is doing. Like, I have in my tagline here, Brunson Burner for MVP, because I honestly believe that. Like, this dude, what he's doing is phenomenal. And I said it earlier, and I'll echo it again. When he is in the ball game, I feel like we can win any game, even when we're shorthanded. Think about this. The Nuggets are widely regarded as the second best team in basketball outside of Boston this year. And some people will say they're better because they're the defending champs. You can argue that till the cows come home. I don't care. I don't care. 1-2, 1A, 1B, whatever you want to say. The Knicks were within a few possessions, down 3 starters.
Mhm.
And Jalen Brunson was a huge part of that. And that was a game where the Nuggets through 3 quarters were shooting 57%. 57%. They were shooting lights out, and they still couldn't get rid of us. Because Jalen Brunson got heart. And Jalen Brunson makes the players around him better. Like, not every guard can do that. Like, Stephon Marbury was one of the most talented point guards you'll ever see. I don't think he really made the players around him that. I don't think he elevated the play of the players around him. I mean, he was a 20-point, 8-assist guy. I had his shoes. I rooted for him. I loved it when the Knicks got him, but he's just not that guy. Brunson makes everybody around him better. And he showed that in Dallas, and he showed that in New York. And you know what? I think you could put him on all 30 teams, and any team he goes to, he makes into a playoff contender. Any one of them. He's that good. And he does that much. And he's smart. And he can do anything you ask him to do. He's just going to – he's tough. He finds ways. And it seems like – I don't know about y'all, but does he ever have 2 bad games in a row? Like, he's had some clunkers this year, but every time he has a bad game, it seems like he comes back, and the next game it's like, oh, he just did something we've never seen a Knick point guard do since 1984, right? You know, it's like he just has these moments. He has this presence, and he's underestimated every time he goes out there, not by his opponents. His opponents know. They know what time it is. Mike Brown knows what time it is. You know, Eric Spoelstra knows what time it is. They know he's impossible to stop. They game plan for him, and they can't do it anyway, and he's the smallest guy on the floor. What are you going to do? He's a 3-level scorer, the likes of which at that size the league hasn't seen. Like, if you want to give me Isaiah Thomas, okay, but, you know, that's about it. I mean, Curry's taller than he is, I think, so I kind of give, and he's, you know, okay, if you want to give Curry, I'll grant that too. But again, I think he's a smaller player, and I think he operates in a different way than Curry operates, right? So, you know, because Curry's the best shooter that ever lived. Jalen is not. He's a great shooter, but he's not that. Mm-hmm. But he can beat you anyway. Like he can beat you off the dribble. He can beat you with the pass. He can. You know, whatever he can do, and he's always thinking. He's always thinking the game. He's always trying to get his teammates elevated to the task at hand. He is the leader on the floor, right? And so part of that is Tom Thibodeau and the coaching mentality that every game is a playoff game. But part of that is the point guard taking on the personality of the coach and going out there and doing what he's saying. And even if he's not saying anything, he's leading by example. He's preaching the sermon with his game. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to say a word. He just goes out there and he balls out, and that just speaks volumes of what everybody. If Jalen's doing that, I have to be doing that to the best of my ability. And I think you've seen that. Everybody who comes in the game for the Knicks does that. And I think that's a reflection of Jalen Brunson's leadership.
Right. Yeah, well said, Geoff. I just want to read this super chat before we get to Jerrell. Paris Doug, I appreciate you rocking with us, as always. Brunson is an institution. All right now. He's a winner, leader. He's who the organization is following. Look at how Randle grew as a teammate this year. We are blessed. And that and that we are. And
good comment, Paris.
I'm a yeah. Sherwin is going to trigger me tonight. So
What happened? What happened this time, Steph? Like, I haven't been reading the chat.
What Brunson is, he is a closer.
That's it, huh?
Come on,
Hey.
come on. I think that's one of the things he is. But if at this point in Brunson's career, if you still think that's all he is a closer, and in my opinion, you just hating. In my opinion, you just, if you can't see who this guy is by now, and you're watching him game in and game, and listen, I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he doesn't have, he can't get better in some areas. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're saying at this point that all he is a scorer and a closer, and not a winner, not a leader, not somebody who, with all the injuries we have, keeping the Knicks within 1.5 games of third place, because Cleveland lost to the Wolves tonight, then I'm not sure who you're watching. I just don't know who you're watching.
Miami lost too.
Miami lost.
Yeah, Miami lost too.
Okay. Jerrell?
See, this is why I wanted to go last. I knew y'all was going to kick me right on track. Because I knew I was going to pick SGA, but, all of you went, Boogie went twice. You know what I'm saying? So I can't go against my point guard. Like, who am I to go against Jalen Brunson right now? I'm not saying anything negative about him whatsoever. I don't even care if his braids weren't done right. I'm going to say, yeah, them the best braids ever, man. That's my point guard. He is our MVP. Yeah, I'm not picking him over anybody. Like, he has been not the whole team this season, of course. I mean, we have contributors everywhere, but you got to look at the roster, how depleted this roster has been in the run that we've had since the All-Star break. Like, all the other people that we've been talking about, their rosters has pretty much been intact, but ours have been, like, he's missing like 2 or 3 starters. Right. Easily. So, like, him putting up the same numbers that he's been putting up with the roster he's been playing with, and we're still winning games. Yes, he is our point guard. Who he is the face of our franchise right now, and I'm not picking him over anybody. I'll be short.
Yeah, and not taking anything away from SG. I would love to have both of them, but I know that's wishful. I know.
We be here all night. No,
I know.
We be here all night.
Because I just think they would complement
perfectly
each other very, very, very well.
Because SGA is 6'6", and like, even on the defensive end with his wingspan, he leads the league in steals too. So yes, both of them complement each other very nicely. I hate putting them against each other, but yeah, this is a point guard conversation, and SGA is technically a point guard, so he has to be in it. But yeah, both of them are phenomenal.
Yeah. You think Brunson makes All NBA this season?
Probably second behind SGA, because when it comes to that accomplishment, is not about like just wins. It's not about how far you're gonna get into the playoffs. It's not all about stats, but mostly it's about stats. And Brunson's stats aren't better than SGA's. Like, I don't think anybody's stats are better than SGA's at this point, especially at his position. So even if he might be second, but they might put them both in first, because it goes by guard. It's not point guard, shooting guard, right?
I think they changed it for this year, and I think it's positionless. Can somebody check that for me? I think the All NBA
too is positionless.
Right. So
for the first time, it's positionless.
Right. So if it's not point guard, shooting guard, put them both in there, and I'm cool with that. They both deserve first team All NBA this season.
Think who they consider Luka a point guard, right?
That's the dilemma.
But again, it's positionless, so you can have all 5 point guards, on the team.
Right. But yeah, if Brunson doesn't make first team and they just want to put 2 guards in it, then yeah, Luka would be the reason that he doesn't make it.
Yeah. Luka is putting up
monster numbers. Yeah.
And B, we don't have to worry about, because he doesn't have the requisite games. The Joker and Giannis is killing.
Yep.
This year,
Tatum's going to get there because he plays for the Celtics.
Yeah. Right. And Giannis is averaging over 30 something points per game, rebounds, like he's having one of his best seasons as well. But I think he would make one of the teams.
Yeah.
There's three.
I don't think it's a case of if he'll make the team. I think it's will he be second team or third team.
Where? Like where?
I think that's the question at this point.
Right.
I mean, I know there's a lot of haters out there and everything, but you can't tell me he's not one of the top 15 players in the NBA with a straight face, in my opinion. I mean, I guess they could say, but they did say that Malcolm Brogdon, who was the Celtics' seventh man, was sixth man of the year last year. So you never know what these voters are going to come up with. And I know a lot of them are going to still vote like it's a center, two forwards, and two guards, even though that's not the way it is. These voters are just, that's just how they're trained, and they just they're traditionalists just for the sake of being traditionalists, rather than just voting based on what the actual criterion are supposed to be. Right. And so you're going to see some folks whose ballots look exactly like that, even though they don't have to. But I don't think there's any question he's at least second team. I mean, at least third team, but he could be as high as second team. I think it depends on how the Knicks finish too.
I was going to ask if there were 5 players better than Brunson this season. But David Elby, appreciate you. Hopefully you've hit the notification. Hit the like button, and hopefully you've subscribed to the channel. I just want the likes. Let's see how many likes. We have 157 watching. I appreciate all of you. And we have 47 likes. Let's try to get those likes over 100 before we get out of here. David Elbaya has the Joker, Giannis, Luka, SGA, and Tatum. I mean, that's legit. You're thinking about 5 players who can make it over Brunson and take that and push him down to the second or third team. I mean, that's legit. Anybody on that list that you think Brunson should get in over?
You could make a legit case of him over Luka, just because especially if the Mavs aren't in the top 6, right? I don't know where they're at in the standings right now, but if they're a play-in team, and 6. It all depends, and we could fall down to that too, I guess. But I think where
they tied with Phoenix so they both 8. They win one game, they could be 7. So in the play,
Luka,
exactly. So go ahead.
I was about to say, Luka's averaging 34 and 10. He's making the first team All NBA.
Yeah.
I don't care where they land in the standings. Like, he's leading the league in scoring, and he averaging 10 assists a game and 8 rebounds. So, yeah, he's going to be first team. Brunson will have to make it over somebody else other than him. Pick somebody else other than Luka.
Brunson is not going to make that first team.
Right.
He's not going to make that first team. And for me personally, I'm good. I'm all right with that. You know what I'm saying? But I know he's going to make a first team, but he's not going to make the 1. I look for him definitely to make the 2.
Right.
But, me personally, I'm going to keep the joke over there. Giannis is doing what he's doing, and I'm going to keep Luke over there, but I'm going to put DSJ with Edwards. That's what I would do.
Oh, we forgot about Edwards. And they in the third team, and they rocking without Towns.
Yeah, man. I'm taking Tatum up out of there. I don't care about you playing for the best team. Look at your supporting cast. Look at your surroundings. You know what I mean? So
I'm not penalize him for that, though.
I'm still not putting him up over them forward numbers. I'm not putting him over Luka or Giannis. I'm not. I can't.
It's positionless, though. It's positionless, so it doesn't. I mean,
I'm not even putting him over Edwards or DSJ.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let him. Hey, since we're in the same division, come on in and be on this team with Brunson. That's okay too. Come on over here.
That works.
Somebody said, shout out to Charles Turner III. Thank you for rocking with us. Hopefully you've hit that like button and you're subscribed to the channel.
Please do. Please do.
He said Brunson might get most improved. Wow.
Yeah, he might do that.
No.
Yeah.
Most improved. Hold on, let me look at this. Nah. He went from
Remember
20.
when Randle? Remember when Randle got most improved? So it's possible.
I think Brunson was too good last year to get most improved. I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
Because to be honest, didn't he get voted most improved last year? Not he didn't win, but he was like in the top 3 or 4 for most improved last year. Coming from Dallas to here. Because he was definitely in the top 5, because I remember looking at the votes.
Right.
I would probably give it to Maxey.
Yeah, it'll be somebody that
Some
jumps.
bigger jump.
Yeah, more of a jump. You need somebody more of a jump than that.
That is a big jump. You'd sit down and be.
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking about for Brunson. For Brunson to win,
yeah.
I would pick somebody else more of a jump. Like Maxey is a better person for that award than Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. David Albier has Ant, Booker, KD, LeBron, and AD for this. Listen, this Lakers team, the Lakers is just getting.
It's gonna be tough.
The Lakers
They fighting for the play-in.
It's gonna be tough. Y'all arguing that
the Lakers is in ninth place.
That's not how they pick the all NBA teams, though. We have to go by the criteria they choose, not ours. They don't care about none. They don't care about that stuff.
Lakers are in the 4th place. I would put Kawhi or Paul George in there before I put anybody from the Lakers. They're in 4th place.
And Russell's back.
Yeah, but LeBron might get a legacy spot though too, just because he's that. I mean that's how that works. I mean, Jerrell's right, and guess what? They'll use whatever logic that they want to justify their picks. They can say they can make that argument about Tatum that his team is so good and his record is so good that he's got to be first team, and then this next breath say that Jalen Brunson doesn't deserve to be All NBA because using the exact same logic, and you're like, wait, what? You just said this here. Why does it not apply over there? But they don't have to be consistent in their arguments. And shout out to David Albier, because I think he's got a good opinion here. I don't necessarily agree with it. And I mean, how does Booker compare to Jalen? I think that's an interesting comparison. I don't know. I don't really pay that close attention to other teams, though.
They're in 7th place. I know Jerrell said it doesn't matter. I'm just saying.
Phoenix you keep going by records.
I know. I'm just saying. You're all NBA. You should be moving your team, you know?
Booker's numbers are comparable to Brunson's. When it comes to averages, like his points, assists, and rebounds, they're pretty much identical almost.
Yeah, but he gets to play beside KD.
That is true.
But I hear what you're saying, Jerrell. They just talk about who's the best players,
right? The
15 best players in the NBA this season,
right?
Regardless of record.
Yeah, you got to think completely individual. Yeah. Don't go by records, because that's not what this award is for, or what this list is for.
Right.
Now, when it comes to the MVP and stuff like that, completely different story. That's where y'all arguments hold the best, like records and stuff like that in team.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's gonna be tough for these 15 spots for the all. I mean, because Edwards, I would think, would be on one of those.
But
teams.
Edwards and Brunson could be on there together.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, for sure. And do those Lakers have enough games played? Like the Wambulance Davis has been in 65 games.
Wambulance Davis. Did you think about this? You think Steph Curry not getting a spot on the
right? Exactly.
One of the 3 teams?
And they in 10th. I see what you're saying. I'm just.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No, he can't get no spot. They ain't even let him start in the All-Star game. No, you can't get no spot. NBA, you ain't starting the All-Star game.
Oh boy. I think AD has 60.
Wow.
Is on pace. I'll look. Somebody look that up and see if Anthony Davis is on pace. I don't think he's had significant injuries or been out for a significant period of time.
Look real quick.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that before we
Steph, you're right. He started and played in 65 games so far.
Oh, so
Already.
he's good.
Yep.
He's played
Already.
every game. Wow, street clothes doing his thing this season.
Street clothes. Yep.
They trying to take his bag. He said, I better get in the game.
Matter of fact, it's already the most games he's played in since
1988.
2016-17 season.
Wow.
That's the last time he's played over 62 games.
Right. And what's his, I mean, when he plays, he's a monster. What's his stats?
24, 12, and 4.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many
No argument
blocks?
for me.
2 blocks?
Blocks 2.4, yeah, so 2. And plus he's still shooting 55% from the field. Like he's still Anthony Davis.
Right. And what about the threes? Because he'll put up a few threes too.
He was never really a good 3-point shooter though. He put him up like it's 27%. Like he puts him up, but he's never been, a lights out shooter like that. Not from out there.
Okay.
He just take them though. Like you got to play him out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when he plays, he's one of the best.
Mhm.
He's one of the best. Shout out to Paris Duggar. I never seen Curry, Clay, Draymond get so controlled.
Oh, you talk about us against them? I'm guessing. I wasn't reading the chat.
Yeah, I guess that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, probably us against them. The way that we control them, our defense controlled them. Okay, okay. Salute to Paris.
Yeah. Any other questions about Brunson before we move on and talk about OG?
Ooh, I'm good.
All right. So just for context, I had read an article. I think it was on Bleacher Report. They was questioning whether or not OG is somebody who would be willing to play through pain. And I think I read that was a knock on him. And if somebody read the article, correct me if I'm wrong, that was a knock on him with Toronto, that he was somebody that wouldn't play through pain. From what you've seen he hasn't played with us that long. But basically it comes down to, do you think that's the case? Do you think this is a legit injury? Basically, do you think he's soft? Like that's kind of what I got from the article. I, for one, think it's a legit injury, and that if he could play, he would. But that being said, he hasn't been here that long for me to know that definitively. Like I know with Randle, right? But if I had to put my money on it, I would put my money on that. He just can't play. What you guys' thoughts on that? Jerrell, Boogie, and then Geoff.
That was definitely the knock on him coming out of Toronto, and while he was there, is injury prone, and he doesn't play through injuries. But I mean, when it comes to us, and in this situation, OG is also playing in a contract year. So I see why he's sitting if anything is wrong. I don't want to call him soft because we don't know the extent of the injury really. Like I've never had bone spurs. I don't know how much they hurt. I don't know like the recovery of the surgery, how long it's really supposed to last. And everybody's different anyway. So I don't want to call him soft, but that was a knock on him coming out of Toronto. So if that is true, it wouldn't surprise me. But I wouldn't just overly, come out and just call him soft because I really don't know.
Right. And I will say, it sounds like, and somebody again, correct me if I'm wrong, the bone spurs were removed, but during one of the games that he hyperextended the elbow. So it's almost like a new injury. But somebody correct me if you've heard something, different. You heard something different, Jerrell? That it was that same.
I didn't hear that he just hyperextended it, so it didn't have anything to do with the surgery at all.
Listen, it's so many reports out there. It's so many.
That's possible though.
Articles. You can read one article that says it's the same elbow, the same issue, and another one where I read that it was hyperextended in a game.
It's possible, but I didn't know that. Obviously, they're not going to come out and say that, and they probably shouldn't anyway. But yeah, I know fans want to know all that stuff, but they're not going to give us medical information like that.
Jay Boogie, what's your take?
I hope he's really hurt. I hope he's really hurt. If that's the knock on him, we already know, like Unc said, we already know he was injury prone before he got here. That's been his whole career, But can you play through an injury no matter what with something big on the line? Now, if you're just laying down and ain't nothing really on the line, you know what I'm saying, because you're more worried about yourself, then that's your own personal issue. But as a teammate, I want to know, can you get through the mud, dude? Like Denzel say, before you get through the rain, you got to get through the mud. Can you get through the mud with us? Because we're out here fighting, scrapping, and can you be a part of what we're trying to do and be on that court and go through the pain, because we all hurting. Shoot, we all got nagging injuries at this point in time, even though we know you're just coming off an elbow, whether it was surgery or whatever you had going on, you know what I'm saying? But I hope he's I need him to come. I need him to pull through, because I don't know what's going to happen with Ju. But I know he's another big factor. Because if Jude's not going to be here, I need him to be here, because I can slide him and figure out something else to do. But I can slide him at the 4. I need for OG to be here. And if it's a test that Leon is seeing and guys is feeling like maybe he's soft or maybe he can't, shoot. Keep him safe until this offseason comes. To keep him safe, because immediately I would do a sign and trade, throw some picks over there where them Nets is at, swap them out. And I believe honestly, that's in the plan. Y'all heard me say that here. I believe that's in the plan anyway. To go get his man over there with the Nets.
I like that plan, book.
Give me some first round picks, save you some money, and I'm gonna give you somebody that can play in his spot. Y'all gotta rebuild, because that ain't nothing over there. YMCA, indoor track field. Whole bunch of trash outside the building. Vinyls everywhere. But real talk, I need OG to get through it, man. I need you to get through it for this season right here, man, to help us fight and finish out this thing right here, how we all want to see. Because all of us see Eastern Conference, man. Get in this building, man.
Jeff?
Well, I don't know. It's all medical, and I don't know anything about whether it's whether it's typical after a surgery like he's had to have that kind of soreness, to have a relapse, or if it's a new injury or anything like that. But I do think that in a contract year, you're going to want to show that you can play and that you're tough, because if you have that injury concern, teams aren't going to be as willing to pay you. You're losing money if you're not on the court. I don't think the Knicks are going to let him walk anyway, but I'm just saying, even with us, I think if he can't show that he's going to be a significant contributor on the court where we need him, then that hurts his value. That hurts his salary. I mean, so personally, I have no knowledge, but I think that if he could play, he would play. So I think there's something to it. Should we be concerned about that? Does that mean he's soft? Like I said, I don't know, but I don't know if that's as typical for this type of injury or not. It's not. That seems like an injury that's more common to baseball to me, like bone spurs and a pitching elbow. You know what I mean? As opposed to a basketball injury. So, and I know when pitchers have it, a lot of times that can be a problematic thing, but it can be kind of like a hamstring. You get a hamstring injury, you can be out multiple weeks, and just because it can't ever get well, and it's his shooting arm, isn't it, that he had the surgery on, or no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, every time he releases, I've got to think that puts pressure on the elbow. And then it seemed like when he got re-injured that he almost got it yanked backwards, or that it came at an awkward angle or something like that. Because when he plays defense, he's plastic man, and he's guarding 1.5 guys, and he always seems to magnetize to the ball and all these amazing things that he does. And so I mean, I'm not going to call him soft, but I'd be lying to say if I wasn't concerned, because he changes the equation for us. When he's in the lineup and he's healthy, this Knicks team is tough. I mean, they're already tough, but they go up a whole level with a healthy OG Anunoby, regardless of who else is on the court.
Right. This is what Thibodeau said. This is an article in The Athletic. There's many steps he had to go. Wow, I'm reading it. It just disappeared. Oh, let me see if I can find it back.
That's
Okay.
the Knicks took it down.
You ain't lying, bud.
They said, First Lady, you ain't gonna drop that ball today.
You up there giving up sensitive information, Steph.
Right. He said, there's many steps he had to go through. He met all the markers. He was cleared. There is a possibility whenever you come back from surgery, this is what you're looking at. So we feel good about where he is and just give him the time he needs. And I think, sometimes you have setbacks. These guys are not practicing the way they're the way they playing games. So
Right.
he's cleared for whatever light little walker-throughs or whatever they're doing, but the game will tell. That's going to be the same thing when Mitch comes back. That's going to be the same thing when Randle comes back. They're going to clear all these markers and whatever they have to clear, but you're not going to really know until they get into game action.
And notice that Mitch practiced full the other day, but he's still not going to be in the lineup on Saturday. So there are still, and I'm not saying there's a setback or anything like that. I'm just saying that just goes to Thibodeau's point that there's a process. There are things that the medical staff is looking at. There are benchmarks that they have to go through before they say, okay, he can play. And then, as you said, sometimes you meet those benchmarks, and then all of a sudden you have a setback, and then you have to,
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're not going to know until you get on the court, basically. So, we shall see. Anything on that before we do transition to talk about Mitch?
No, Steph, I'm about to actually get out of here.
Okay.
And everybody have a good night, man. Like, salute to the chat, J Bug,
Appreciate you.
Jeff, Steph, you already know.
Salute.
I appreciate you.
And y'all have a good night, man. Have a good weekend.
All right.
Hey, do the same, Uncle Rel. Have a great weekend, man.
Peace.
Let's go Giants.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Giants. And Jets for Geoff.
What am I doing, Bronco jersey?
I was going to keep playing. I wasn't going to say nothing.
Let's
watch those Mike Williams highlights. It'll make you feel better.
Okay. So let's talk about Mitch. He's back at practice. I don't know the intensity of practice, but he's back at practice. He was ruled out for tomorrow, so he's not going to play tomorrow, but he's on his way back. Do you think he should start when he does return? I know Coach said that with Tibbs, you don't lose your starting spot due to injury. I know that's kind of big for some coaches. But yeah, just your thoughts on Mitch returning, whether you think he will start, whether you think he should start, and how does that, change our team? Boogie will start. Well, Geoff, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Boogie.
Well, at the risk of impeachment from my presidency of the Mitchell Robinson fan club, um, I actually think that he's not going to start, and I think his comments kind of indicate that. Like, they asked him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay with coming off the bench." And frankly, Isaiah Hartenstein's earned the starting spot in his absence. Like, I think that there's, we have a very data driven coach, and so I think the data shows that the offense is much better with Hartenstein out on the floor, and the defense doesn't really drop, because who has the best defensive EPM metrics in the league right now? Isaiah Hartenstein. So, in fairness, he's earned the right to stay as the starter, and he looks healthy again. The last 3 or 4 games, I really feel like we're seeing Hartenstein back to his full self, which we haven't seen much of late. So I think the minutes restriction or limitation, whatever you want to call it, is definitely helping. And I think having Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench and having 48 minutes of elite rim protection is going to really improve us. And it gives coach versatility, right? In other words, if the matchups, and if Mitch is playing well and the matchups are going right, you can stick with him like he did in the Cleveland series, last year. Mitch was playing out of his mind. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be at that level right away. Mitch has tended to have to be eased back in from a longevity or a win standpoint, getting back into basketball shape, which is understandable. I mean, you can't do that much cardio when you have a broken foot. So, it is going to take some time to rebuild that stamina and get back into basketball shape. I don't care if you're doing exercises in the pool or whatever else you're doing. It's going to take a while to get back there. And so I think he's putting in the work, and I think he will get there. But I think for right now, the ideal thing for me, and I think for the Knicks, is to have him off the bench, have him play 14 to 20 minutes, because what I noticed, especially in the Denver game, is the minutes that Hartenstein was off the floor, whether it was Precious, whether it was Sims, whoever's in, we struggle in those minutes, it feels like. And maybe that's just a me thing, I don't know, but it really felt like I was just kind of holding up. Okay, when are we getting Ihart back in? When are we getting Ihart back in? When are we getting? And then he was in, and it's like, okay, everything's good again. That's just the feeling that I got, and I feel like with Robinson in there as his backup, I don't think you're going to feel that as much, because even the struggles in the second unit, if the Detroit boys are still struggling with their shooting, maybe Robinson cleans up on the offensive glass, gets us extra opportunities, and the offense can flourish that way. I don't know. But I don't really care, because I think they're so complimentary, and I actually think that they're such good friends that they don't really care. Like, I think he would probably care if it was someone that he didn't know and wasn't best friends with, but I think he really genuinely is happy for Ihart and what he's done, and I don't think he would do that for anybody but Ihart. In fact, I'll say that. And I think that's the role he's got to take on until he shows that he's ready to take on a bigger role. I don't think it's wise to just thrust him in right away again when we know we have a formula that's working. I think you plug him back in and you take baby steps and you just continue to see how he does and see how he grows. And I think to have to compete against second units makes our second unit a lot better, because he does a lot of things that Precious Achiuwa can't on the defensive end.
For sure. Before we get to Boogie, I just want to say we have 69 likes, 158 people watching. Hitting the like button definitely helps the show. That's another way to support the show, as well as subscribing to the channel. You guys know, when you go to YouTube, you see the recommended videos at the top. The more likes we get, the more the show gets recommended. So if you haven't already, hit that like button. Let's get it over 100 before we leave here. So that means we need about 31 more likes. If you're tuning in and you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that the the subscribe button so you can get those and a notification button. We got some things coming up. Boogie, your thoughts?
I know I need Mitch back. Welcome back, Mitch. Come on back. That's not gonna, it ain't gonna do nothing more but just help the team even more.
No doubt.
As far as him starting and not starting, I'm cool. I'm better for Mitch starting if the normal five is, if the normal four is there. If Brunson, Dante, OG, and Julius is there. Because I believe Hartenstein would give us more of a punch off that bench with that bench squad. And I believe that these guys here in the starting five, they can maintain that, you know what I'm saying, that first five. So, but if we're not going to be all the way back healthy, then yeah, I might as well just keep them on the bench. But I'm really interested in seeing Mitch and OG playing together. Two solid, defensive all-team players, because Mitch was on his way for that. And we already know OG's a all-defensive player. And to have them guys out there playing together, we could do a lot of things. And now we got two guys that can back up, Brunson, as far as his defense, at times, when he gets beat. And somebody's back there at that rim that they don't want to challenge. See, they don't have a problem with going to try and challenge Hartenstein, even though he's got that shirt on, aka Mr. Meet Me at the rim. And he's gonna be there. But it's a difference from me trying you at that rim than me knowing there's somebody back there, and I'm a little, hesitant about going to that rim more on Mitch than I am versus going against Hartenstein. But I'm just happy to be able to have him back. He fought back, early in the season. They was saying that, he wasn't going to make it back. We was trying to get more money for him, and we could do things. And the league stepped in and said, nah, he can make it back. That injury consists of him making it back and being here. And Mitch put that work in, and he made it back. So I'm looking for him to suit up Monday. Get in there. Dope time's over with. We're going to let you have the weekend. Dope time is over. We at the crib? We in the building Monday?
No, we in Brooklyn. Monday, I'm not sure.
Monday.
I'm not sure if
that's Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times we gonna play Detroit at home? It seems like. But Boogie, my question for you is: any concerns about Mitch coming back and what that does to our offense in terms of spacing for Brunson and Randle?
I believe they can figure it out. I just believe they can figure it out. And I'm just looking at our coach. And, and I know he's gonna want that defensive lineup out there. I just know in his mind frame he want to see it. I want to put my best defensive guys out there. But offense, them guys can figure it out. Brunson can figure it out. Julius, you know what I'm saying? He can bounce off of whatever Brunson's doing. And you still got Dante. And Dante is going to go back to his normal just spotting up. Dante's not going to be dribbling as much, And those two guys going to be the creators on the offensive end. And you got two dudes that can catch and shoot, and both of those same two guys are slashers in OG and Dante, as well as we got these two guys. And Julius has been playing good mid-range down, and he was playing more in the paint. And Brunson is who he is. And if the shot goes up, you know he's there to Windex that glass. Before he left, he was leading the league in offensive rebound. He's there to Windex that, clean that glass up. So I'm all right with Mitch going and starting lineup, But either way it go, we still got a hell of a lineup. We got a hell of a lineup if everybody's back.
Right. Last question, and I guess Geoff can take it, and Boogie, if you want to comment on it, you can. The Knicks were already number one in defense without Mitch in the starting lineup, I should say. Are you okay giving up some of that offensive fluidity when you're not gaining that much more on the defensive end because the team was already a top defensive team? Geoff?
I mean, it depends on the magnitude that we're talking about, right? Like, in other words, if you, and I'm just making up numbers here. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen or anything like that. This is all, just to make an example. In other words, if we're, let's just say we are allowing 98 points per game with Hartenstein in the starting lineup and everybody else healthy, but you put Mitch in there and you're doing 91 points per game. I'm not saying that that's what would happen.
Right.
I'm just using it as an example. Then, and then, so how much is the offense better or worse comparatively? And you just have to use the data and the stats to kind of figure that out. I don't know them well enough to really be able to give you an intelligent answer, and I don't really want to guess. I understand the thought process, though, and I kind of have the feeling that it's right what you're saying, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of feel.
That's a good point, though. That's a good point. I'm just, I that's why I asked that's why I asked the question. But that's a good point. You making a difference between the offense and defense. One thing about Tibbs, he's keeping those stats as well. How much better is our defense in when Mitch is in? How much better is our offense? And what's the difference between the two? And I'm pretty sure he's making his decisions on that. But go ahead, Geoff, you can finish.
And like I said, I have a feeling, and it's just a feeling. I have a feeling those numbers are better with Hartenstein. That's just a gut feeling. I don't know. I don't have, like I said, I haven't looked at the numbers, so I could be wrong about that. But again, if it's a wash, then I don't think it matters, and you just play either one. And then if it goes one way or the other, and you adjust. But to me, I'm not sure either one of those guys is a 35-minute a game guy anyway, right? And so, Hartenstein more because I don't know if his tendinopathy can take it.
Right.
I think that it maximizes him to play him at about 28, and I think we've seen that, like when he plays at 28, which is about what he's been hitting lately. He's been crushing it, right? And it's a matter of figuring out what we can do in the 20 minutes that he's off that's going to make up the difference. Well, if you can plug Mitchell Robinson in those 20 minutes, then I just think that's the best of both worlds. And I think that's the way that you'll play it. And I think that's the way that it's going to go. And then the Knicks have a big decision to make in the offseason. Do you trade Mitchell Robinson? Do you re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein? If you do, for how much money? All of these are serious conversations that are going to need to be had, and I think the Knicks very much want to keep Isaiah Hartenstein, but did Hartenstein play himself out of the market? Out of our market, I mean, that's a valid question that I don't have the answer to. I know you can't go into next season. If iHeart does leave, you can't just go in there with Mitch and expect everything to be okay.
History.
Just because of injuries, right? And Precious Achiuwa, who's played great, is not the same sort of five. He's a good defender, but he's more of a backup four than he is a five, in my opinion. And he's been really good for us, and he's subbed in, and kudos to him for we wouldn't have survived the injuries that we had without Achiuwa playing 40 minutes a game, doing whatever he asked him to. So big ups to him. But that's not who he is as a player, in my opinion. If you could have him just to fill in at backup power forward for 10, 15 minutes, I think that's ideal. But moving forward when Mitch is healthy, I think you could see Achua's minutes plummet. Like he could become situational even. I think that's possible. I don't know, but I think that it's definitely, it's just a set of circumstances where we have a lot of talented basketball players on this team, and it's a good problem to have. And the other thing is, and this is I think Knicks fans' hopes, and I think it's my hope too, my sincere hope that Thibodeau isn't rigid, right? Because there are going to be circumstances where maybe because of matchups, it's better to sub in Precious than Mitch and not have the 48 minutes of rim protection that's his Linus blanket, right? But then there are times when, like I said, Mitch is going to be the one that you want. Sometimes it's going to be Hartenstein to win it. So right. Just to recognize that he has that flexibility and to utilize that flexibility, because I also think, and this is just me, but if OG gets healthy and you can play him a little bit with the second unit, you could have OG and Mitchell Robinson as the bookends, and that makes it really easy to slot in Bogey at the 4 and let him cook and shine and work on offense, and you can maximize him without really suffering too much on the defensive end. At least that's how I'm picturing it in my mind anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And just to piggyback off the Precious Achiuwa, I would rather play Precious Achiuwa at 3 than 5. I would take my chances of him moving his feet and defending a small forward than playing him at the center position. He just get overpowered.
I agree.
Too easily. I don't like him at the 5. But as a backup for Julius, that 4 position is like rock solid if you have him backing up Julius. Yeah, I hear you, Big Nick, and he can't shoot at all to be a 3, but he can't defend a 5. And he gets over, he gets overpowered down there. But I do want to say something about everybody in the not everybody, but those who feel I'm a hater of Mitch. Listen, just because we have different opinions on a player doesn't mean I'm a hater. I'm not sitting here saying you a hater on Isaiah Hartenstein because you prefer Mitch. It's just differences, it's just differences of opinion. For me, I prefer a player that's a little more complete offensively, even if there's a small drop off defensively, particularly now that we have Devo and OG if they're healthy. Now, before we had these perimeter defenders, we had to have Mitch. We had to have somebody out there to defend the rim because we did not have perimeter defenders and players was getting in the key. Now you have OG and you have Devo. I don't believe you need an elite rim protector when you have good perimeter defenders. And I like the way our offense flows. And I get it. I don't think Hartenstein is a big offensive player that you can pencil in for 15 points a game, but he keeps that offense moving. When Devo cuts and OG cuts, you have somebody that can deliver that pass to take advantage of the cutting. You understand? So I'm not hating on Mitch, but I do like having a versatile offense, even if it comes at the expense of Isaiah Hartenstein not being as good a defensive player as Mitch, even though if you look at the stats, he's right there. And as a team, our defense is good without Mitch. Our defense has been good without without OG. That being said, going into the playoffs, we got 48 minutes at center. And, to Geoff's point, however Tom Thibodeau chooses to utilize them, hopefully the way he did with McBride, he does the same thing with our center. He did it in the playoffs last year. There was times when Mitch played more. There were games in which Isaiah Hartenstein played more. Right? So the most important thing is we got 48 minutes of center play, and we have flexibility. And it's up to Tom Thibodeau to use that, that flexibility And, keep our expectations of Mitch. I don't expect him to come back the way he left, coming off of, an ankle injury. So whatever he can give us will be much appreciated. Yeah. And anything else on that?
I think you said it all.
Said it all.
Yeah.
You too, Captain. I know when to stay out of y'all way.
We usually stay it out of your way, Boogie. You're the closer for a reason.
Man,
we just
when y'all, man, listen, we
throw the alley and you just oop it down. That's all it is.
Old Head says Mitch has fresh legs. iHeart has Achilles issues, so cut his minutes. I mean, he may have fresh legs, but I still think there's going to be an adjustment period for Mitchell Robinson coming back off of that ankle. I mean, if you think about when Julius Randle came back, he didn't come back and be the Julius Randle that we thought he was. He had to work his way into that. And I think it's going to be the same thing for Mitch, but still, Mitch doesn't have to do what Randle did. So I still, in terms of offensively. So I still think he will be able to.
We won't know till we see him, though, right? I mean, that's the thing. We won't know till he hits the court, right? We'll be able to judge it then. Other than that, it's just speculation. We can, people who are pro Mitch are going to say he's going to be great, and people who are anti Mitch are going to say that he's not going to be ready, and the truth is probably somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Anytime you come back from an injury, it's going to play a certain role in your head, until you're able to realize, that I'm over it. He's going to have to get confidence that he can do things. Same thing was with Julius. He had to get confident in, being able to do certain things on the floor that he liked to do without him thinking about the foot, or if I'm gonna have a setback, or if is it ready to go, can I re-injure it, none of that. Once he got his confidence up, the game just fell right into place. And that's what Mitch needed to do. He just needed, get his confidence up, run the floor, get confident with it. And sooner or later it'll go away and he'll be to his normal self and not even be worried about that foot. But I know there's one thing that I do feel like, I don't think Tom just going to use a 9-man rotation.
Wow.
I think Tom is in everybody's ear and telling everybody stay ready, because these guys has already proved that I could be called upon. So I think Tom is at the point where if I can exploit something with something on this bench, I'm going to do it. And we just saw that with Deuce, in San Francisco. So I think Tom is going to have everybody make sure you stay ready, because y'all have proven that y'all been playing big time minutes, big time games, far as a regular season. But I'm gonna give you a chance when I call upon you to see if you can carry that over into the playoffs. So I'm one of the ones I think we're going to use this roster as needed, right. Especially, if we're not all the way healthy and everybody's not all the way back. But even if everybody is back, you want to continue on helping everybody that's just coming back and limit them, into minutes to where, they don't have to put so much pressure on themselves, as if, like, Julius, you don't have to come back in the mind frame thinking that you got to go 40 minutes when you got somebody, we can give you breathers. So I think everybody need to get ready, because Tom might he's doing his thing this year. When we gonna pay Tom?
Right.
When we gonna give him his money?
It's coming.
I
disagree with you just a little bit, Boog, and it may be semantics.
That's fine.
But my opinion is this: I think it's possible that we end up playing more than 9 players. But I think it will be a 9-man rotation. In other words, if there's a time when I think he's only going to play 9 players in a given game, that may not be the same 9 players on a nightly basis, but I don't think he's going to be going to a 10, 11 man rotation every night, because coaches just don't do that. Like, I don't think that, especially in the playoffs, typically it goes down to 8, 7.5, sometimes 7.
Right.
So I really don't see him going more than 9 in an individual game, but it may not be the same 9 guys night in and night out like he was, because I think there are more guys that he can trust on this team. I think that he has guys that he feels like he can rely upon. Even Alec Burks. I mean, Burks actually had, a decent outing against Denver, and it wasn't so much that he was making shots, which it helped that he did make some shots, but it's like Steph was saying when he first got here, it was like his process was bad. It was like he was that dog from the movie Bolt or whatever. It's like, squirrel, he just wasn't focused. And so I think his process was much better. And if we can get that kind of a Burks moving forward, and he can kind of settle into what's expected of him and what we need him to do, then he can be effective too, in limited minutes, and hopefully when everybody's healthy. But again, Ajay's on that it's going to be a 10-man rotation. I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again, but that's just not typical for any NBA coach, and especially not Thibodeau. So more than 9 guys might play, but I don't think you're going to see more than a 9-man rotation.
But that's pretty much the same thing. You just, explain it a little bit different. It's pretty much the same thing. I just feel like, everybody's going to be ready. Make sure you stay ready. And as you said, I'm along with that, with what you're saying. That I'm not saying play them guys the same night. It's flexible. I believe, game in, game out, game situations. That's why, I brought up like the Deuce situation. Game situations can change. It's going to be flexible. But when I talk about all the players, just make sure you stay ready. Because if I call on your number, it's because I'm ready to exploit something. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about trying to just play you because I just want to play you, but I'm trying to exploit something that I see that I think that might help the team, because I believe in you and you're ready to, to be in that role, And those guys are pretty much Deuce, Precious. Those are the 2 guys. We all know that they're going to use Burks. They're going to use Bogdanovich. You're going to use Josh Hart and either Mitch or Hartenstein, whichever one of those guys. You're going to use those guys. That's just, it is what it is. But from time to time, you never know what a situation might bring. On a game situation is what I'm saying, that Tom might try to exploit something, because these guys don't prove like, I don't went to war and battle for you, right, all year, with the injuries. But you're 100% right.
Yeah. That's a luxury. That's a luxury to have. I'm not sure about Bogdanovich though, only because we've been beat up, hurt, and he's still getting under 20 minutes a game. So I'm thinking, is Thibodeau really sold on him? Is he a Thibodeau type of player? Is Tibbs all in on Bogdanovich? And if he is, why he doesn't just? I understand the defensive part of it, but I just feel like we have defenders we can put around him so that he can get more minutes. So I'm just a little concerned that even down as many players that we are, he's not getting consistently over 20 minutes. So when everybody is back, will he even be in the rotation, or will he be that situational guy that, on certain occasions Tibbs will put in? What's your thoughts on that?
Go ahead, J-Boog.
Well, I believe, a lot of people feel like he's slow, he's not keeping up the game and everything, but you can eliminate that in the playoffs. I believe the playoffs are going to slow down, whereas his speed is going to be right with the playoffs. But it's going to be times where this guy is going to be on the floor, whereas because he's a shot maker, and he has the experience, and he's not scared to pull that trigger. You know what I'm saying? He's confident in it. And when it comes to certain matchups, you know, especially like if they go small or something like that, or, you know, if Julius is back and you got like Julius and OG and Bogdanovich and Dante and Brunson, you know what I'm saying? Just, you know, going against a small lineup that's not really consist of a lot of somewhere where you can hide him at on the defensive end, but they're not, because of what's going on with him, far as with his minutes and all that right there. They might be trying to make sure he get to the playoffs. I want you to get to the playoffs and be there.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm
he's
saying?
34 years old, so that
Mhm.
could be part of that. Could be part of it. That's a good point.
And he hadn't really shot the ball very well either.
Yes.
From distance, like I think he's had a lot of 1 for 6 games from 3, and you know, and it's one of those things where if you're not shooting the ball well from deep and you're not scoring efficiently, what are you doing out there, right? Because we know you're not bringing a whole lot defensively, and one thing we know about Tibbs, he's trying to win the game, right? He don't care if you play 1 minute or 47 minutes. He's going to put whatever lineup out there he thinks gives him the best chance to win the game, and he should. So I think that Bogey's inconsistent minutes are a function of Bogey's inconsistent play. You know, and I think if you saw him as a more reliable scorer, a more reliable shooter, if he was shooting close to what he was when he was in Detroit, I think his minutes would be up higher. But he has, you know, he's 1 for 6, 1 for 8, 1 for 4. You know,
Yeah.
Deuce is shooting better than that, and he provides better defense, and then he can just play Josh Hart 48 minutes, which, you know, unless he's going for a 20-20-10 game, he wants to play him 40 minutes. So, you know.
But you could still play him with those two guys.
You could.
You could play Bogey with Hart and McBride. That's the point I'm making. Like there's enough, you could put enough defense around him, because even if he's not shooting well, he still spaces.
Right.
He still spaces. Like you're still not going to leave him. It's just an option.
He spaces, but Josh Hart's not really a scorer, and
or a spacer
isn't really either. So, you know, it's nice to have that floor space, but you still need someone to get buckets, right? And if he's not getting buckets, then you got to have someone in there, whether it be DiVincenzo or, you know, Jalen or somebody in there who's like that was one of the,
for sure. But when we talking on the second unit, though, who else is getting? You ain't getting no. Hart is you know, perhaps there's not a lot of shooting on this. The only point I was bringing out is in terms of the rotation, he not even getting a lot of. We're down guys, and he's not playing over 20 minutes. I'm just thinking when we're at full strength, I wonder if he's going to be in a regular rotation or if he's going to be situation. That was my only point.
I had a feeling when we acquired him, he's here more because of the value of his contract than the value of him as a player on the court. And, you know, in other words, if we needed that salary slot, and I don't think they wanted to do that. I don't think they wanted to do Evan wrong another year. You know what I mean?
Right.
By just putting him on. I think they wanted to get Evan out of here for a similar salary. Bogdanovich is that. I mean, I don't think he's a Tibbs type of player, as you said. So where is that coming from? So, but if you look at his contract, it's you know, if you're going to make a bigger deal, which we're always rumored to be making, I think that they didn't want to lose that salary slot for nothing. Right. And they didn't want to do any more wrong by Fournier. And so, you know, Bogey and Burks is what we ended up with. So,
I agree. And that's what I think his lack of minutes. You could talk about the defense. You could talk about the poor shooting. I think it's due to the fact that I don't think he's a Tibbs type of player. You know, we'll see when the playoffs come around if, you know, they're just trying to keep him fresh and, and it'll be different. I think he's going to be situational. But at the same time,
you know what? If he comes in one game and has a heater and gets 18 points or
Yeah.
something like that and
Yeah.
wins you game 3
Yeah.
and you go on to win the series, then you're good, right?
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
that's really what you need him for, right? If he was more consistent, that's more power to him. But it's a good problem to have. We have a lot of talent in front of him. If he can't get minutes ahead of that talent, then that speaks well to the guys that we're putting out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. McBride is a spacer. Now, yeah, shooting
Agreed.
well. How are we feeling about Burks of late? Let's spend some time. And as soon as I said it, Sherwin on the same page. Burks shots are falling. Now, because when you talk about versatility, Bojan or Precious, whether you need defense or offense, we got Mitch or Hartenstein, depending on who's playing better and in the matchups. But behind Brunson, it's been just McBride. The Knicks didn't bring in another point guard. Young players in the playoffs are hit and miss in terms of consistency. They'll have, you think about Brown, who played for Denver. He had good games. He had games where he, was so. That's to be expected in the playoffs. It's hit or miss. I don't expect consistency, I should say, from young players from game in to game out in the playoffs. Can Burks, if McBride is not playing well, are we a little more confident in Burks now, given how he's played over the past few games?
I'm not super confident in Burks right now. I'm not gonna just say that I'm definitely not the conductor of the Burks train right now. I'll say that. But I think that I still see the potential in Burks helping this team. And you're never as good as you are when you're playing your best, and you're never as bad as you are when you're playing your worst. And so I think that it was an adjustment period for him. And to be honest, as someone from another network said, that and that's an opinion I agree with, Burks is really at his best as like a spot up shooter and someone you can just kind of get the ball to and just have him, make shots. And, we're kind of wanting him to create offense, which isn't, he's been a bucket getter in the past, but he doesn't finish super well at the rim. He's not getting a lot of trips to the free throw line. And so you're not really seeing that from him. And he's, and he wasn't looking for other people as well at all. I thought we saw a better version of Alec Burks on Saturday. So, or on Saturday, but against the Nuggets rather. So I think that's encouraging. And really, I'm not faulting Alec Burks and I'm not blaming Alex. I don't think that there was the perfect backup point guard out there to acquire. If there was a better name out there to acquire, I think that we would have gone and tried to get him. You see what Kyle Lowry is doing, and you kind of feel like that would have been really nice to have. But I don't know. Again, come the playoffs, I think Brunson's playing 40 minutes a game anyway. So at least, and so what do we do in those other 8? I feel more comfortable with Burks or Deuce in those 8 minutes this year than I felt about anybody, including Quickly last year in the playoffs, because Quickly was he before he got hurt, he was not doing a good job in those minutes. So, DeCoulis says Shake Milton. I don't think Shake's getting to shake here. I think he's just here in case of emergency.
Break glass, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's the only thing that I would feel much more confident if we had a backup point guard with experience on the roster, even if they were situational, even if we went with McBride, who's playing great right now. But if for whatever reason there was a game in which he wasn't, that we would have somebody else to go to other than Burks.
Yeah,
I would feel more comfortable. But it is what it is. Our offense is such that anybody can initiate it. So it's not like, just bring it down the court and just initiate the offense. It's not going to be,
but there's
we gotta play different.
definitely
We have to play different because of whoever is going to be, running it. The offense. We have to run the offense.
and it's a definite. I mean, when Brunson is in the game, we're a top 3 offense in the league, and when Brunson is out of the game, we're the worst offense in the league. And so it's just a matter of finding a way to grind out possessions and find some points. And oh, by the way, those units are not typically the best defensively either, right? Because Bogey and Burks aren't really. Burks is an okay defender, but he's not known as just like a lockdown guy by any stretch of the imagination. So if you have those two out there, you can put other guys around them and they're okay. But again, where are you playing Precious? As you said, you like him at the 3 and the 4 a lot better than you do at the 5. He's very switchable,
Right.
but we saw the other night when you have him in the middle, big teams are just going to punish you. I mean, and the Nuggets did exactly that. I mean, so that's a problem.
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out to East Blue Drew. I feel that trade was so bad. Like Evans and Grimes would be better than Bojan and Burks. I would wait till after the playoffs before I would for me personally, whether I would comment on that. Because remember, Evan wasn't playing, and Grimes would be a young player that you're counting on in that second unit in the playoffs to come up big for you. And even though Bojan hasn't shot the ball well and Burks just now coming along, I still like I'd still like the probability of them playing better in the playoffs given
You
their
can't
experience.
judge it fully until you see it with a healthy roster either, though.
That
I
too.
mean,
That too.
they're new and they're asked to be put in roles that are greater than what we acquired them for. And so I think that we just kind of have to pump the brakes on really making a fair assessment until we see the team with everybody slotted into their proper position and role. You see what that looks like. You see how that goes, and then from there you can make a better decision.
Right.
But the other thing is too, Deuce is filling the role that Grimes had, right?
Mhm.
And I think you can make the argument that he's played better. Especially from when Grimes went to the bench. I think you can definitely make the case that Deuce is, and it sounds like I'm hating on Grimes, I guess, but oh, by the way, Grimes has been not shooting the ball real great in Detroit either. I saw somebody, I think it was Benji Ritholtz, said that that trade's just cursed because everybody who's involved in it has been playing bad.
I did see that.
So and it's sometimes just an adjustment period,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they came in when the team was just in shambles injury wise, and just being thrust into roles that, we didn't think they would be in. So yeah, I agree with you. I want to see this when the team is fully healthy. If we get there, like I'm getting a little concerned about Randle,
hopefully we get there is right. Hopefully we get there is right. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. I don't know that, but I expressed that concern a couple weeks ago. We were talking about where we were, and I said at that time, and I kind of feel like it's still, I don't know that we're ever going to get to that point,
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, but it is what it is.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm getting a concern, like I said, about Randle, not hearing a lot of news about him. I know Tip said at one point, you're not going to really know how he's going to do until he's actually in a game. and that's kind of similar, to the OG thing. So we'll see. Because without Randall, I'm not, you know, our chances of getting to the Eastern Conference Final is diminished. Can we still do it? Absolutely. But
You're just gonna have to get on a heater, though.
I'm gonna have to get on the heater.
I mean, is that possible? Yes, but possibility and probability are two completely different things, and you need two All NBA. You might be able to sneak past one round, but I don't think you're getting past two. But let's not be pessimistic on Julius, because he's still working hard to fight through everything. He's getting better. I mean, he's working at it. If he can play, he can play. And if not, we'll find out. And, maybe surgery in his future, unfortunately, again. But that would be killer for a lot of reasons, because I think that hurts us in more ways than one, because we don't get to see playoff Julius. Is this finally the year where he can shake off the ghosts of Atlanta past, and even last year, we've never got to see a fully actualized, fully healthy Julius Randle in the playoffs, and whether he can perform with that and a great point guard like Jalen Brunson. We haven't seen that yet. And you said at the beginning of the season, and it was very astute, I think, on your part, that he can do whatever he wants to in the regular season. We want to know when the lights get bright, when the stage, when it's center stage, it's Broadway, it's go time in the playoffs. Where you at? What you going to do? And now it doesn't, even if he does get back, in the back of your mind, it's still going to be, well, is that shoulder okay? You know what I mean? You're still not going to have that definitive answer, whether you like it or not. Now, his critics are obviously going to say, oh, well, he's healthy enough to play, then, he should be, his regular old self. And his apologists are going to say, well, yeah, if he has a bad game, it's all because of the injury. And again, the truth is probably going to be somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah. And so, but that's just really unfortunate, because the Knicks kind of need to make a decision about how they, are they going to be able to stand pat with Julius as the second option or third option for this club moving forward? Because, I don't think DiVincenzo is going anywhere. I don't think Josh Hart is going anywhere. And I kind of feel like they feel good about OG Anunoby and what he does for this team, just based on the small sample size when he's played. And so if you are going to make a big move, that leaves like Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and maybe some of those draft picks as your pieces that you would use to make any one of those deals. Or unless I'm thinking about this wrong, I don't see there's a whole lot else out there that other teams are really going to want.
Yeah, fair point. The other thing I wanted to say before we get into that is, I think Randall feels he's ready. I think the team is the one that's taking their time with Randall. I think if it was up to Randall, he'd probably be ready. He'd probably be ready.
I think that's smart.
I think it's smart as well.
Smart. Mm-hmm. Because look, especially with the nature of his injury, right? Mm-hmm. It's a shoulder injury. And so the more banging and more bruising he has to do on it, the more likely he is to re-aggravate it, right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be it's like Melo said, it's going to be a pain management issue for him. So let's not get him where he's getting clobbered. Like, there's no way I'm playing him against Miami unless we're playing him in the playoffs, because, Bam will, go try and tear his arm out of his socket. You know how that goes. Right. And if you don't, Ajay will tell you, chat. But, right. I think it may be one of these deals where let's get him back we're at 13 games left, right? So maybe another week or so, maybe the last week or so of the season, kind of get him back in, maybe get him back to, on court stuff. Cause I do think he's going to take some time to get back into basketball shape. I don't think there's because like you said earlier, nothing simulates game action, right? You can be cardio warrior, but that's not the same thing. It's just, I don't know why, but the intensity level is just not there in anything else, no matter what you do. And so, It's you know, I don't know where he's going to be at, but I have a feeling that it's, you know, coming down the stretch of the season, that's last 7 games or so, I think that's when you're going to see him back. But I actually think you're going to see Robinson in the lineup before you see Randle.
I agree with that. And Randle at 80%, Randle at 75% helps this team. You know, obviously, I don't want him hurt. If this is going to risk his career, I think he shouldn't come back. Have the surgery. Do not come back if this is a career threatening injury.
100%.
Right. I think everybody is in agreement on that. But even if if this is not a career threatening injury and he's not 100%, 75% will help us because of the gravity that he has. I don't think teams are going to be like, oh, he's only at 75%, you know, leave him alone. I think he's going to
They don't know what percent he's at, right? As far as they're concerned, he's in the lineup. He's 100%, right? They're not going to. They don't have a Julius Randle meter. Oh, he's only at 65% tonight. We don't have to cover him. Like, no team is going to do that, right? You know, and you know, it's going to be a feeling out process for him, and it's so frustrating though, because I really feel like he had hit on his best form. Like, I loved what he was doing with his offensive game, all the shots in the paint, the little
right.
I mean,
less
loved all that.
3-pointers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought his shot diet was perfect, and he was really, you know, he's really embracing his role as the second, you know, as the second guy, and then, you know, just a senseless, freakish injury, and it's the way it goes. So
I want to put this
gets back.
comment up. This is similar to what you were talking about by Big Nick Energy. Appreciate you rocking with us. And for those who don't know, he has his own channel. So, you know, please, you know, subscribe to Big Nick Energy. Just go to the search bar in YouTube, put in Big Nick Energy and subscribe to the channel. Put in 2 Knicks chicks and subscribe to the channel. But subscribe to this channel first if you haven't already. We got 176 listening. I appreciate you. We got 88 likes. We need 14 more. Let me just refresh it. Yep, we need 9 more likes. Let's get to 100 before we get out of here. Of course, Big Nick Energy. It's about supporting. Oh, come on. It's about
your dogs are ready to go now.
You know, it's about supporting all the Knick content creators out there. There's enough room for everybody. Keep doing your thing. You can't just see this team set up and then see what the Celtics, Nuggets, Bucks, Thunder, and a couple other teams look like and be like, no moves needed, we'll win. Yeah, Big Nick Energy. This is a question in the Knick community. I think there's some of us who feel like this team right here has an opportunity to win a championship if healthy. And there's some of us who feel like we might need one more move, you know? I play both sides because I can see both sides. Sometimes I get real comfortable in my head anyway, thinking, you know, man, if this team is healthy, just look what we're doing when we're not healthy. If this team is healthy, top 10 in offense, defense, and net rating, those usually championship contending numbers. We have the shooters, we have the defense, we got the gravity players, you know, and Brunson and Randle. We got a closer in Brunson. And then the 2 things would make me feel super comfortable, and that would be having another backup point guard with experience, and 2, I feel like we need one more bucket getter. I just feel like we need one more bucket getter. The way this team is built around playing off of Brunson and Randle. And I get it. With this new collective bargaining agreement, it's going to be hard. You know, the days of 3 supermax, like those days are over. But Devo as a bucket getter, OG as a bucket getter, I mean, they can. I just feel in the playoffs when things stand still, and now Randle may not be able to get his own shot because of the injury, and also because he plays in limited space, and you can crowd him. I feel like Brunson is the only one that we know can go out and get a bucket. So I would feel comfortable if we had one more bucket getter. But your thoughts on that, Geoff? And then I'm interested in what the chat thinks. Do you feel like we're good right now, or do you feel like another point guard, even if situational? I ain't trying to take anything away from Deuce, so don't come at me to call me a hater. I ain't trying to take anything. Just situation.
Wiz is going to be at your doorstep. That's his
Okay,
grandson.
Wiz taking that flight from LA. And do you think we need another scorer? But your thoughts, Geoff?
Well, first of all, I don't think you should ever say we don't need to make any moves, that we're ready to win. I think that the best franchises are always looking to improve on the margins. Like, I think the first step to backsliding is to get comfortable with who you are and where you're at. I think you always need to be looking for ways to improve your roster. And I agree with you 100%, especially about the other bucket getter. And I think I would feel most comfortable if that bucket getter could also be the point guard. You know what I mean? If he could be the bucket getter and soak up those, and that way you don't have to really take up two roster spots. You can kind of solve two birds with one stone. I think that would be the ideal. But yeah, I think I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, or if you ask me who the specific player is, I don't know if I necessarily know who I have in mind or how we're going to acquire that person. Those are interesting questions that are above my pay grade, but I know that Leon Rose and company are definitely examining that full war, and they have their eyes on certain players, and some of them we have talked about, and some of them we may not have talked about, and so but I think that just Bogey and Burks and the Deuce contract and some other things just lead me to believe that there's one more big move coming. And I think it's coming this summer. And I think it's going to involve Mitchell Robinson, and it may involve Julius Randle, and it's going to involve a lot of draft picks. And it's going to bring in somebody who we think is that third banana. Because you're right about the collective bargaining agreement, but remember, we still have Randle and Brunson on bargain deals for one more season, right? And so I think if there's ever a time when you can make that swing, it's kind of like in the NFL when you got a star quarterback on a rookie contract,
right?
And because they're on that low contract number, you can pay $20 million for a wide receiver, you can pay $15 million for a running back, because you're not having to pay the premium for the quarterback position, even though you're getting premium production. And that's what Brunson is doing, and that's what Randle does too, by the way. I mean, if we're going to keep it 100, that's what he does too. And I think anyone who said that Josh Hart is overpaid, I think this last month or so of games kind of puts that narrative to bed.
I want to ask you a question before we get to Josh Hart. I want to ask you a question about something you said. Now, if we trade Randle, though, that person, now we still need a number three, right? Because if we trade in Randle, whoever we bring in is going to be a number two. So are we not in the same place? Well, I guess it depends on who we trade.
Depends who that player is, right?
It depends on who that player is, correct. Yeah.
And if Randle is going out, I would think that you're getting a 1A to go. In other words, if they're moving Randle out the door, they're bringing in someone of stature of a Luka or Giannis, or they're not just going to move Randle to move Randle, right? I mean, he's an all NBA player. So if you're moving him, you're getting an all NBA player back. And I agree with David L. Byer, by the way, that we're not trading him. But if he, again, if he is moved, it's going to be for a bigger fish. It's not going to be for a couple of smaller fish, right? At least that's my belief. And
I don't even know who would be out there, but you never know. you know,
Well, here's the thing: the playoffs are going to dictate some of that, right?
yes.
Everybody's happy and doing fine, and then if Milwaukee goes out in the first round of the playoffs again, is Giannis going to be happy? Is he going to be asking out? Is he going to be, in other words, you know what I mean? We don't know, what if things implode in Phoenix? What does Devin Booker's situation look like? What is, so all of these things are playoff dependent. What some of these performances, if Embiid comes back healthy and the Sixers flame out anyway, does he say that this isn't for me? And not saying that I necessarily want Joel, that injury history scares me to death. I think that's one of the reasons you could take Brandon Ingram off the table for me too, just because he's got another injury now. So, it's a lot is going to be on the table, but so I think there is a world where maybe we only have 2 stars, but if we have 2 of those elite players, like top 5, top 10 players, that's a little bit different than having Julius, Brunson, and another, let's call it second tier star.
But I think you could get away with Julius and Brunson. But I just think you have to have a third. My reasoning is Brunson and Randle, you can argue as a duo, is not on the level of a Giannis and Dame. You can argue that it's not on the level of a Tatum or Brown, though some would legitimately argue that. And you can pick other duos as well. So if those guys, that duo is not on the level of those other duos, their number 3 got to be better than those guys' number 3. That's my logic.
I agree with that logic.
You and the thing about it is those 2 on Milwaukee, bucket getters. The 2 on and they can operate in space. Giannis is not somebody where you're going to give him the ball and, on the wing and have him create a shot. But his space is just going, coast to coast and contorting
himself. He's a freak athlete. You can't stop him.
Yeah, contorting himself in such a way that, he gets a basket. To me, I feel like when your 2 best players are on the wing, it's a little different than when your 2 best players, one is on the wing and one is down low. And I think that may be a problem for Philly as well. As good as Embiid is, you can double him. You could, there's things you could do because of the space in which he operates. Now, he will hit the 3, don't get me wrong. He will come up to the free throw line and hit a mid-range. He can take you off the dribble, don't get me wrong. But those type of guys in the playoffs, you could crowd and you could do a little more with to try to stop them than you can with a Tatum and a Brown. Those guys who operate in space. And for us, we got Brunson and we got Randle. And Randle operates. I mean, he operates in like the mid post area, the elbow area. Don't get me wrong, but he not a Brown or a Tatum. If I hope I'm explaining myself right.
I got you. He doesn't play like a wing.
Yeah, when he played on the wing, put the ball in his hand and be like, I'm gonna get a bucket right now. I just feel like we need one more.
I agree.
David, nobody is arguing with you about Brunson. Brunson is him. We already know Brunson going to be able to get his. In the playoffs, though, we're going to need more.
We saw that last year. Brunson played out of his mind against Miami, but he was the only one, and it wasn't enough to beat a very beatable Miami team. We saw it last year, and so, it's about getting better. It's about getting better on the margins, because I kind of feel like when we're healthy, we're close. But again, it also goes back to what, if you are upgrading, who are you moving? Are you moving OG? Are you moving, in other words, so if you're going to make this trade, where are they going to play? Are we getting a 2 and we're moving DiVincenzo to the bench? Are we getting a 5 and
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
and getting Mitch out of town? And then how does that look with Randle and another big, right? Who can do all the things that Joel can do, for example. How does that look? How is all that going to play out? And I think it would be fine personally, but especially if that person is a rim protector. Not my favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't visit the Karl Anthony Towns situation.
Right.
Let's call it that, and
We
got hurt.
Towns,
So that
we gotta
doesn't
keep
help.
Mitch.
Yeah.
You get Towns, you need Mitch. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Or Hartenstein at the very least.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Just seeing how Towns is able to play with Gobert, before he went out, makes me think it would be doable, with Mitch. I do think that the Knicks have a decision to make. I really wish Randle wasn't injured.
So do they.
I think this is his last playoff before he's eligible for an extension. He's eligible this summer, correct?
Is that right? I didn't know if it was this summer or next summer.
Somebody correct me. If it's next summer, that would be great. Because you're gonna max a player out in this collective bargaining agreement. You want to know for sure that they can ball out in the playoffs. Like, you want to know that for sure before you give them a max.
But there are also ways, like we don't have to give him a full extension. We can give him another 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, and
you have to agree to that. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, but if you're going to do that, you're going to pay him a little bit more money than you would for a. In other words, I'm just using these numbers as an example. Don't at me for this isn't a contract offer, but so if you're going to say 2 years, $50 million a year, for example, versus a 4 or 5 year or a 5-year deal, let's say for 140. I'm just using that as an example. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He might be willing to do that and then revisit it. And maybe it's a case that we give him a 1-year deal with a player option or something. I don't know. There's a lot of ways that you can structure it and finagle it and do a lot of things. And we have Brock Aller, and that's what he does best. I mean, I think one of the things you have to give this front office credit for is getting a lot of players in on market value deals. I mean, the Mitchell Robinson deal is a good descending contract deal. The Julius Randle deal is a steal. The Jalen Brunson contract is the best non-rookie contract in the NBA. And I would say, other than the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama, it's probably the second best contract in the NBA.
I think those days are over, though, for the Knicks in terms of those types of contracts. I can't. If Brunson gives them a discount, that would be great. That would be great. If they can get Randle to sign for less than the max, that would be great. The thing about it is, whoever you're going to get, you need to have them in the door this summer. Because even if you don't max those guys out, you're still going to be close to the second apron. It's not like they're going to take $20 million. So if you don't get 40, you give them 36, you're still going to be close to that second.
OG's got to get paid too, and it's not
and OG has to get paid too. The Knicks are good. And listen, you can go over. The Knicks will have the opportunity, because they have these guys in the door, to pay them whatever they want. That's not the issue. It's not a hard cap. You could pay them whatever you want, as long as you're willing to pay the tax, and as long as you understand when you hit that second tier, it's going to be difficult to improve your team. However, if you have a championship contending team already, how much improvement do you need?
I'll say two things about that. First of all, I think that we're going to, just knowing this front office and the frugality of it, we're going to be a first apron team next year. I don't think there's any way we're going into the second apron next year. That's just who this front office is. That's Leon Rose has been very almost prudish with his contracts. You know what I mean? So
You gotta have two to tangle, though, Jeff. You gotta have two to tangle. You gotta. Randle and Brunson would have to agree. So if they said no, nah, I want the max. What is Leon Rose gonna do?
I don't know. Sign and trade.
Sign and trade who?
Randle, or they're gonna pay Brunson whatever he want. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. But if Julius, decides, pay me or trade me, if it's more than they're willing to pay, I could see him shipping them out the door.
That changes our championship win. That changes a lot of stuff. So the Knicks are gonna have decisions.
Oh yeah, for sure. And none of them are easy, by the way. Like, how much do you pay OG Anunoby?
Right.
Like, literally, this is a guy who's played 16 games for us or something like that. And you're looking at the prospect of paying him $30 million a season for how many games? And we know what his impact is, right? We know when he does play, he's phenomenal. There's no question about that. But how serious is this elbow thing? Is it something that it's come next offseason is going to be fine? Is there something else that's going to come on down the pike before you know what I mean? If you're going to make a long-term commitment to this guy, what does that look like? And as you said, is he is that the kind of money you want to pay for a guy who's not really a third option?
Correct.
Right? Can you be a third option just being a defensive juggernaut and a very good shooter on the wing?
It's possible. It's possible. I did want to say this though. This is kind of what Boston ran into with Brown's contract. Do we want to pay him this money and be a second apron team? Well, what's the alternative? The alternative is to trade him. Well, whoa. If we trade him now, what does that do for our championship, aspirations? Because they had to pay him over 30, 40, whatever it was. Tatum is coming
huge contract, and Tatum's going to get.
So I'm sure
money.
that was the conversation they was having. What's the alternative? And I think that's going to be the same thing with Randle. If you can't trade him for a superstar, and it's coming to the point where you have to sign him to a contract, and he says he wants the max. If you decide, we're just going to trade him, that really hurts your championship aspirations. If you're not trading him for a star, you're just trading him because you don't think he's worth a max. So you're going to get back these bit pieces. The Knicks are going to have, if it gets to that point, I think they're going to sign him. If it gets there. Because what's the alternative?
But with his injuries and not knowing the playoffs, are you going to be able to give him max? I mean, that's a legit question.
It's a legit question because now you're locking yourself into potentially the second tier. And if Randle is not that dude, you're locking yourself into a team that's not a championship contending team. Randle and Brunson have to be that dude, and you have to be 100% or 90% sure that they are if you've given them a max contract. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, I agree. Absolutely. So, I think that's why the injury hurts us so bad. We may not get a chance to really see that before we have to make a decision, and that's why maybe a 1+ kind of a deal would make sense for both parties, right?
Right.
Just to give another crack at the apple, so to speak, with hopefully, health. Because I kind of feel like the stuff that's happened to Randle's just been kind of flukish stuff. It's not like he's injury prone. He's just had like 2 freakish things happen to him.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of tough decisions to make, but I don't even want to think about that right now. We're in the middle of the playoff race.
You brought it up.
I know, I did, but I guess what I'm saying is I want to kind of bring it back to, because and the reason I say it is disrespectful to the team that we have out there right now, because they are playing their rear ends off for us. And this team is fun. And, I don't know what's going to happen in the postseason, but if you look at it, we have 13 games left. And if we go 7-6, we have more wins than we did last year with all the injuries that we've had.
Right? Incredible.
And if we go 9-4, we're right at that 50-win spot where a lot of us thought that's where I thought we were going to be to begin the year. So this has been as fun a season as I can remember, and Jalen Brunson is the main reason why. And so I'm not going to argue with you, Almighty Finesse. I think that's definitely on the table. I think it's definitely on the table. But if we're going to do that, we got to go on a 4-game win streak right now.
And I think
these next 4 games, I do too, but we have to do it,
Right. We got the Nets tomorrow. We have Detroit Monday. We have the Raptors. We're at on Wednesday. They're gonna be jacked up for that game. Is RJ back?
I didn't know he was. I don't know if he is back or not. I imagine that if he's going to be back, he's going to be back for that game. He'll come out a morning for that game and then play that game and then go back into morning.
Right. And then we
bless that family. I don't mean to make light of it. It's a terrible tragedy. All love and prayers and everything else. Once a Knick, always a Knick. We love you, RJ, and our hearts go out to you, bro. That's rough. I don't ever want to know what that's like. He'd take as long as he needs, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
That's just a rough deal.
Right.
It's just a rough deal. But IQ's going to want to, dance on our graves too, even if RJ isn't there. I could, and when we play Detroit, Fournier and Grimes are going to, you're going to get a shot from them too. None of these games, look, these are teams we should beat, but it's the NBA. And we have a roster that's very flawed with its injuries, so we can't. I always say Brunson means we can win every game, but it's a lot harder when those other pieces aren't. I mean, you see what a difference OG Anunoby makes. I mean, the difference is staggering.
Right,
which is what made the Golden State win so impressive, by the way.
Right.
In my mind.
Yeah, and then we played. Did I say San Antonio? And so you got
no, you didn't say that.
San Antonio. So we got
so 4 bad teams
on the road, and San Antonio is on the road. So
and Wemby is big and a problem. I've seen quite a bit of him, and if you want to talk about the future of the NBA, that is a bad dude right there. You want to talk about a guy who's you talk about non-Knicks that I like to watch play. It's SGA and it's Wemby. This kid is 7'4". He blocks shots like crazy. He can score. He can put the ball on the deck. He can shoot the 3-pointer. He's a rim protector. He's man does it all. So that's not going to be. I mean, they don't have a whole lot else, but he can almost win a game by himself. That's how good he is.
Yeah, well, if the Knicks want that 3rd or 4th spot, they need to go 4-0. I mean, you can see it. You can see it right in. If you can go 3-1 on the West Coast trip, you can beat these 4 teams. You can go 4-0 against these.
Highly disappointed if we don't. No joke. I will be like, whoa, there's, come on, guys. TCB, we got to take care of business this next week. It's massively important for so many reasons. Look, we need to stay in the top 6. There's, we've kind of lucked out with some Miami losing a game here or there, Indiana losing, but let's put them to bed. Let's keep. In other words, you win these 4, you may put it where they can't really realistically catch you in the final 9 games or whatever it is, right?
So Orlando is in 4th, 14 games behind. Knicks are in 5th, 14.5 games behind. Oh, and I forgot Cleveland is in 3rd at 13. So we're just 1.5 games behind Cleveland. If we go 4-0, and we have the tiebreaker. If we go 4-0, I mean, obviously it depends on what Cleveland
they're dealing with Donovan Mitchell injuries, and I mean they're still dangerous, but that's not the same. Mitchell is MVP level guy too that nobody talks about when he's healthy. I mean, he's had an amazing year, and it's really funny that that team is really good when Mitchell plays, and it's really good when Garland plays, but it's not really good when Mitchell and Garland play.
Right.
It's like each one of them needs to be. I kind of think that the Hawks have a similar issue with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, right? They just need to choose one and let the other one go for some pieces that fit better.
Correct. And as to your point, as much as I love, and I absolutely love Donovan Mitchell, I wonder if that would be the same dynamic if he was brought to the Knicks. Like both of those guys, Brunson and Donovan, they may need to be the head of the snake to be most effective.
The one thing I'll say about that, Brunson has shown with Luka that he is good off the ball.
He is good off the ball, but will he be as dynamic? You know, but you're right. He can't.
Maybe not, but does he need to be as dynamic?
That's a good point too.
But I want to avoid it because I don't trust the knee injury. That scares me. Like I think that to me that has the spider ship sailed in my book. I mean, I don't want to pay big money to a star that with creaky knees. That scares me. But maybe I'm just seeing the boogeyman. I don't know, but that scares me. Everybody had their own, opinions, but I would just as soon go somewhere else, Spida, preferably on the West Coast. Go play with Steph Curry. Old head, you're sucking me in. You talk Frazier around here. That's my love language, brother. That's my love language. Come on now. Championship backcourt.
And shout out to Sha France. Everyone needs to relax. We'll get the number 3 and number 4 seed. Cleveland will drop the. Listen, I hope you're right, and I hope you subscribe to the channel, Sha France, and you hit that like button. But appreciate you. The Knicks, if the Knicks get the 3rd seed, given the injuries we've had, that would be super impressive. That would be super impressive. We shall see. Okay. Any last words? Geoff, if there's anything you guys want us to cover before we get out of here.
Shout out to Jay Boogie. If you haven't caught his Mike Breen song yet.
Oh, yeah. I actually got another one.
Yeah, so he's got one for Clyde, he's got one for Breen, and he's just super talented. So listen to him on whatever platform you get your music. Guy is phenomenal. He loves the Knicks. He loves you all. He loves us. He blesses us in so many different ways, and we're spoiled to have him, and just realize how lucky we are to get someone with that talent who pours his heart and soul into not just the franchise, but into the fans and into the chat. So salute to him.
Sorry, go ahead, Geoff.
Go ahead. Do you have it?
Yeah, I have his latest, but I'm looking at the list of songs I have loaded up in the StreamYard, and I got an album. The Storm, the Frazier, the Breaking News, No Games Off, Point Guards, the MIP, All Eyes on Us, Big Blue, Run. I got a J Boogie album loaded up here. But
it's just mad hits is all it is. It's just hit after hit after hit. But then I also want to say shout out to you, Queen. This is always so much fun to be here with you in the chat, and I don't think everybody always realizes all the hard work that goes in behind the scenes to make a really good show. And
no doubt.
Excuse me, you are always the one to do that, and you always have provocative questions for us that get us started, and we go from there. And it was, and shout out to Jerrell and Ajay and Staffa who couldn't be here tonight. It really, when I first started watching the show, I don't know how long it's been now. It's been a while. But the first time I heard you say salute, Knick family, I was like, I like that. I like the sound of that. And that's truly what it is. Like, so you MBK folks, whoever y'all, come join our Knick family, because you're not going to get the Pom Pom Squad. You want the Pom Pom Squad, you got to find a different podcast. But if you want real Knick talk with a lot of people who know the game a lot better than I do, then this is your place, because we got a lot of sharp minds, not just on the panel, but in the chat.
In the chat.
And shout out again to Staffa, who's the chief researcher. I think that dude reads more about the Knicks than anybody in the universe.
No doubt.
He always has. Y'all don't even know how much he contributes behind the scenes about showing us articles and everything. And he reads everything. Dude just is fantastic. So, but it's just such a pleasure to be here. And I love the chat. You guys are incredible. You always make us think. You always you always give me a new perspective, and I appreciate it. This is so much fun, and this season is so much fun. So just let's all keep enjoying it together, and let's get to the playoffs, and let's wreck some team seasons.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that QR code is if you want to buy me a cup of coffee. And I know this is an older crowd, right? Remember we asked how long you've been watching the Knicks. People was like, 78, 81, 83. So in case you don't know, open your phone, open your camera, put it close to this QR code on your screen, and then tap the website that comes up and buy me a cup of coffee. I'm going to be in Miami April 2nd, my birthday, to watch the Knicks live. So if you're in the Miami area, hit me up if you want to go out to dinner before the game, or if you're going to be in the building, let me know so that I would love to meet you guys. So I love the MBK events, the live events, because I get an opportunity to meet those in the chat. So anybody in the Miami area, April 2nd, I'm in the arena, Lower Bowl, to watch my Knickies, and I would love to meet up with any of you. But let me play Jay Boogie's latest song. He sent this to me. It's called The Storm.
A 1-2, a 1-2.
Hey, yo, count that.
A 1-2, a 1-2.
Count that money.
I just found Nas lost number 2 pencil. I'm about to write a letter to the Knick fans. My Knick fans tell them we still here. Through tough times, we made it through them tough years. But they said we couldn't weather storm. This my havoc, my prodigy, my quiet storm. Future bright, Leon still planning.
That's right.
No response to Candace Parker, Miss Becky Hammond. But tell I'm Pat Ewing tall. New York Knicks City position, I'm the point guard. New York City, we can never fail. Shout out to little Charlotte ringing off that cancer bell. When I speak, I'm talking garden dreams. We all in, all one. You gotta love the team.
That's family.
Every bar is such a real quote. Like when Mitch moved in his high school coach.
That's real.
All we do is just the realest. Look around your franchise, we the biggest. And of course, side 10 toes down. The world's famous arena. This is Midtown.
Right.
I see the doubters, plus the haters. We getting stronger.
Right.
They can't fade us. They know that help us back in the building. The entire league know we about to be a problem. I said we're about to be a problem. I said we're about to be a problem. They keep saying, why not us? But I'm going to tell you why it can be us. It's the orange and blue thing.
That's bugged, man. Oh, hey, hold on. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought it was another verse. It was about to start over. Appreciate you, Boogie. Walter White, what if we're watching on our phones? Oh, I see what you're saying. There might be a website. You might be able to go to buymeacoffee.com and put in is that what he's talking about? Buy me a coffee. What if we're watching on our phones? I'm not sure. But listen, Walter White, this is a super chat. I appreciate you. This is good enough right here. Appreciate you rocking with us. We're We got 110 like Wiz, BKLA. Wiz is, oh man, I know Wiz probably not even sleeping at night with how McBride is playing.
He probably was at that game because that's on his neck of the woods. He probably drove up to.
That's true. He probably was at the game. I'm pretty sure that's what he means. Yeah, I'll actually put the link in the I'll put the link going forward in the chat. But I think you could probably go to buymeacoffee.com and just look up Dope Soul Sports. Yeah, I just want to hit some of these before we get out of here. All right. Big shout out to Jay Boogie. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys as well. Yeah, listen, there's no channel without the panel. So I appreciate you, Geoff, Ajay, Jerrell, Boogie, Staffer, Delusional Knick fan when he comes through, and everybody else. But there's no show without the chat. We would be sitting here by ourselves. We would be sitting here by ourselves. So there's no channel without the chat. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Sometimes I can get a little hot. You know what I mean? But none of us are perfect, so I appreciate you guys giving me grace and coming back. Coming back the next week. And like Geoff said, this is not the Pom Pom podcast. We're gonna say, what we feel about the Knicks, whether we like it. We feel the Knicks are doing great. We feel the Knicks aren't, doing great. And I know there's some fans that can't take that. Oh, it's just so negative. Why we can't? This is how we get down over here. This is how we get down. But lately we've all been on the same page about this team. All right.
It's a lot easier to agree when we win it.
It's a lot easier to agree right. When we're winning. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. King Embert, it doesn't matter who starts when you get a full 48 of Mitch and Hartenstein. Yes, that was a I definitely agree. Snipes Entertainment. I don't think Randle comes back at all. But OG is out. We're done by the second round.
I agree, Snipes. I agree. If not before.
If not before. Yeah. Anyway, we out of here. I appreciate everybody for rocking with us. Oh, they talking about the draft. Appreciate everybody rocking with us. Next week, because the Knicks play Friday, we will be on Thursday. I'll check with the team, but and see how it goes. But I believe the Knicks play San Antonio next Friday, so we probably have to do it Thursday.
Thursday will be fine with me. I'm off next Friday's Good Friday, so I'll be off Friday. So Thursday night's fine with me. Fred should be
right. And the week after, I don't know, because I'm coming back Wednesday, so I don't want to do a show Wednesday. I think the Knicks play Thursday and Friday. We're talking about the week after, so we might have to go that Saturday, depending on, who's available. But we'll update you next week.
Have your notifications checked, so you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody. We've got over 100 likes. I'm hopefully everybody that's listening is subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, y'all got a break this week. Ajay wasn't cracking the whip on you. Now
right.
you can't slack off, because then he's going to come twice as hard. Right. He's going to come in here with that black tie on. He's going to be spitting fire at y'all if y'all don't be hitting that like button.
Right, and I'm gonna tell him we made it over the 100 line, even though he wasn't here. He'll be happy to hear that.
And thank y'all. Over 150 on a Friday night, sharing your Friday with the start of your weekend. That's incredible, guys. We appreciate that so much. You have no idea just the kind of commitment and to sit here and listen to us talk about this team that we all love so much. That's incredible.
That's true. And the Knicks, the 4-game winning streak, if not more, starts tomorrow, 1:00 in Brooklyn against the Nets. Let's
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Until next time, family. Until next time.
tune in, that means you're feeling the vibe.
Feel that?
The bell rung, you already been subscribed.
That's right.
Right now, the queen, she on live.
Right now.
Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul, sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, New York.
Brooklyn.
All my people, you rocking with the chat.
Hit that.
The like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the NBK. Born and raised up NBK. Hey, hey, real lady where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine. Dope Soul,
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul,
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.